Get in pole position for cheaper van insurance with mustard.co.uk. With top insurance providers, a 5-minute pit stop with us could get you out in front in the race to savings. See what you could save and compare your van insurance today with mustard.co.uk. T's and C's apply. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers Land Rover. Here, wherever and whenever you need them. Visit them in store or online. Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Game 1 of a busy Saturday is done, and it finished with Rangers winning 2-0 in Dingwall. A goal from Kamar Roof on his return to the starting 11 got the ball rolling, and then a stunner from the captain James Tavernier sealed all 3 points. Ross County offered more in the second half, but ultimately Rangers take the 3 points and bring them back down the road. And now it is over to Celtic at Celtic Park. Let's go back there and recap the Celtic team and get the St Johnstone team for the first time with David Friel.
Yeah, Gordon, as I said earlier, Alistair Johnston, who's been out since the Scottish Cup final, he's straight back in for Celtic at right back. Tony Ralston dropping out. Odin Holm and Leah Labada are also out for David Turnbull and Yang. So Celtic will line up Joe Hart in goals, Alistair Johnston, Gustav Lagerbielke, Liam Scales and Greg Taylor at the back, with David Turnbull, Callum McGregor, Mattarelli in midfield, and Yang and Dyson Maeda either side of Kyogo. Subs for Celtic are Bain, Haksabanovic, Abada, Holm, Kwon, Iwata, Bernabe, Forrest and Ralston. As for St Johnstone, you've got to fear from them today. You know, they always come here as major underdogs, but they have had an absolutely horrendous start to the season. They've lost 5 of their 6 games so far, haven't beaten Celtic in 7 years. They've also lost 9 in a row in this fixture. And the way look earlier on, Gordon, in the last 5 meetings between the teams, St Johnstone have conceded 20 goals. Stephen McLean, it feels as if he's just been slaughtering his players every week. And this could be a long afternoon. I think his last words after the game at Ross County, a 2-0 defeat a couple of weeks ago, was it was unacceptable. He said he was going to shake things up. He is. He's actually named 8 new players, 8 summer signings in his starting 11. Since that County game, he's signed 3 players on loan. Luke Robinson from Wigan, Jay Turner-Cook from Newcastle and Dara Costello from Burnley. All 3 start. Captain Liam Gordon has been dropped. There's no Ryan McGowan anywhere in the squad. Stevie May is also on the bench and Cammy Ballantyne also drops out. So St Johnstone are going to line up Dimitar Mitov in goals, Dari Olafunwa, Sam McClelland, Andy Considine and Luke Robinson at the back. Dan Phillips and Matt Smith will be the holding midfielders in quite an attacking line-up. Jay Turner-Cook, Dara Costello and Graham Carey in behind Luke Jeffcott up front. Subs for St Johnstone are Richards, Brown, Gallagher, Gordon, May, McPherson, Kane, Kucheravi and Ballantyne. The referee at Celtic Park is Matthew McDermott and the VAR is Andrew Dallas.
Apart from all that, St Johnstone have got a big chance. Hugh Keevins.
Absolutely fine, they're doing well. No, I think David Friel has just given us a word picture of chaos at Perth. Like David, I've listened to Stephen McLean after the matches in which they've lost, and he's too harsh on his players. I mean, encouragement is not a weakness. He has never said an encouraging word to them. He has thrown them all under several buses. And now today, a side with loads of new summer signings, with players who are on loan, they ought not to have any chance at all. The Celtic fans are not only looking for a win, that's the very least they expect, they're looking for some sign of Celtic. There was none to be had at Kilmarnock. They did not take their chances, they were ponderous, they looked nothing like the Celtic of last season. And the fans today want some kind of reassurance that Brendan Rodgers can get a tune out of these players. The interest will lie in Lagerbielke and Liam Scales in central defence. They may not be overworked, but whatever they are asked to do, they need to do it positively.
Let's get some of the team news you don't have yet. Their final Premiership offering first between Hibs and Livy. Dave Galloway is there.
Yeah, the big question is, Gordon, how will a badly wounded Hibs respond to what was a 5-0 mauling at home to Aston Villa in midweek that could easily have been much worse? And can they somehow use that experience as a positive and move on? Certainly a win's crucial for them as they strive for the first Premiership points of the season so far. Any other outcome would surely see scrutiny and pressure intensify on manager Lee Johnson. It'll be interesting to see how all this may influence Livingston's approach to the match. Are they getting Hibs at a good time? Livy come to Easter Road keen to avoid going 4 Premiership games without scoring for the first time in over 4 years. I can tell you Hibs have made several changes, no fewer than 5 to their starting lineup. In come James Jego, Christian Doidge, Riley Harbottle, Alan Del Ferrier and Rocky Bashiri. Out drop Lewis Miller, Paul Hanlon, Lewis Stevenson, Josh Campbell and Dylan Vente. So it's David Marshall in goals, a back three of Riley Harbottle, Will Fish and Rocky Bashiri. Midfield, Alan Del Ferrier, James Jego, Joe Newell and Jordan Obita, with Martin Boyle, Christian Doidge and Ellie Ewan in attack. The substitutes, Boric, Miller, Hanlon, Vente, Stevenson, Lefondre, Campbell, Molotnikov and Megwa. A couple of changes for Livingston. In come Jamie Brandon and Scott Pittman. Making way are Christian Montano and Stephen Kelly. So it's Shamal George in goals. A back three also for Livy. It's Mikey Devlin, Ayo Obalai and Louis De Lucas. Midfield, Jamie Brandon, Andrew Shinnie, Jason Holt and James Penrice, with Scott Pittman and Joel Newbley supporting Curtis Guthrie up top. Subs for Livy today, Hamilton, Bahambula, Anderson, Kelly, Boys, Bradley, Sangari, Ledingham and Lawal. Your referee is Craig Napier, and on VAR it's Graham Granger.
Yeah, looking forward to that. You never quite know what you're going to get from Hibs these days, so let's keep a keen interest in that one. Brilliant lower league card today as well, but the standout for us here in Glasgow in the West, no doubt about it, Partick Thistle against Queen's Park, and Michelle Evans is there.
Yeah, thanks very much, Gordon. Can I just say that I've been away from this for a long time, so go easy on me.
Not a problem, like riding a bike, as they say.
Exactly. So I heard you guys at the top of the show talking about the Glasgow Derby, and I think everybody in this stadium, as far as they're concerned, this one today is the biggest Glasgow Derby and the only one that matters. Last season it certainly produced a lot of goals. During the actual league season, every game pretty much produced them. You had a 3-2, 4-0 and 2-0 wins for Queen's Park, with the Jags putting 4 past the rivals in the final league encounter of the game. That theme then continued into the playoffs, as I'm sure everyone will remember. There was 11 goals over 2 legs, with the Jags coming out on top in the end of that. Will the goal fest be repeated today? Well, I am going to go out on a limb and say yes, I think it will. Queen's Park start this one top of the league with 3 wins from 3, having played a game more in the league than everybody else. Jags are sitting 8th, which is also known unfortunately as second bottom, with 1 draw and 1 defeat from 2 league games so far. I'm confident that we will get goals because, as I've said, Queen Park have that 100% start, with Rudy Payton, one of their new signings, impressing in front of goals. Jags, as ever, will be looking to their talisman, striker Brian Graham, who might be in the veteran category, and he won't appreciate me saying that at all, but he still has a lot of goals in him, as we saw in the playoffs last year. He even got on the score sheet last week through at Tynecastle in the last 16 of the Viaplay Cup, albeit it was an own goal. But both Brian and the Jags will see that as a bit of a blip and will be out to make amends today. So the all-important teams, Partick Thistle make 3 changes from that 4-0 defeat to Hearts last week. Out go David Mitchell, Wasari Williams and Ben Williamson. In come Jamie Snedden, Lewis Nielsen and Ben Stanway. So they line up with Jamie Snedden in goal, a back 4, Jack McMillan, Harry Milne, Lewis Nielsen, Anna Muirhead. Across the middle will be Kerr McEnroy, Stuart Bannigan, Ben Stanway and Stephen Lawless, with Aidan Fitzpatrick helping Brian Graham up front. Bench for them are McCready, Nwenga, Robinson, Williamson, Alston, McDonald, Lyon, McKenzie and Adeloye. Queen's Park make 1 change from their 1-0 win over Arbroath last week, and that sees Patrick Jarrett drop to the bench with Jack Turner coming in, so they line up with Callan McKenna in goal. A back 4, Ben McPherson, Charlie Fox, Will Tizard, Cameron Bruce. Across the middle will be Jack Spong, Jack Thompson and Jack Turner, with Barry Hepburn, Rudy Payton and Dom Thomas up front. On the bench, Ferry, Robson, Bannon, Reid, Longridge, Waugh, Jarrett, McCormick and McLeish, with your referee today, Grant Irvin.
Not a problem. Michelle Evans, good to have you with us this afternoon at Firhill. Partick Thistle against Queen's Park. I like the look of that fixture, Hugh Keevins, a number of reasons.
Yeah, nostalgia being high among them. It's great to see Queen's Park at this elevated level, the brand new, full time, really serious about the game, Queen's Park, with Robin Veldman doing a great job in charge of the team. I'm watching the progress of the 16-year-old goalkeeper, Callum McKenna. Already English Premier League teams having a look at him. So at the age of 16, that's astonishing. Partick Thistle got a going over at Tynecastle, and poor O'Brien Graham started it all off with an OG. So they'll be keen to make amends for that today. It's just great to have another Glasgow derby apart from the one involving you know who and you know what.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that one then. Lots to look forward to down the leagues today, but that one stands out clearly for us here in Glasgow and the West as well. So that is you up to speed with your team news. If you are looking for a recap of that result earlier, Ross County 0, Rangers 2, and of course reaction from the managers to follow throughout the afternoon. The open line will be here later, Rangers fans, if you want to air your thoughts on that one. But we are edging ever closer to those 3 o'clock games, and we will go back around the grounds next. And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
Hello, Frank Skinner here. Someone said reading brilliant poetry is like opening a skylight in the top of your head and just feeling the cool, sweet, revitalising air come whooshing in. Okay, it was me. A brand new series of Frank Skinner's poetry podcast, now with added whooshing, starts on Wednesday, August the 2nd. Available from wherever you get your podcasts.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are in the studio. The top team are around the grounds, and we are building up to the 3 o'clock games, hot on the heels of Rangers winning 2-0 in Dingwall. Managerial reaction from there won't be far away. But now it's over to Celtic, certainly in terms of Glasgow's big two, to see how they respond, not only to that, but to a rare domestic defeat in the League Cup at Kilmarnock last weekend. We will go back to Celtic Park. Some interesting team news. Alistair Johnson returns. There's a start for Yang. Turnbull is back in the midfield. Lager, Bielka and Scales at the back as well for Brendan Rodgers this afternoon. Let's pay a bit more focus to the other Premiership ties. Motherwell against Kilmarnock. It is so early, Fraser Wishart, but I just wonder what your thoughts are on Killie being that potential dark horse, the ones that maybe sneak into the top 6 with all the big city clubs.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the form so far this season points in that direction, and I said earlier that it's a defensive record that's probably been the key to it. They've not lost a goal in those 3 games against Hearts, Rangers and Celtic. You know, it's not often teams can say that. And Lewis Mayo signed a permanent deal from Rangers, but Robbie Dees and Finlay coming back in as well. You know, they're strong at the back. It's can they score the goals at the other end? They rely a lot on Dan Armstrong, who's been terrific, and he'll play in the right hand side. And that's why I wonder whether Motherwell might play Stephen O'Donnell as a left back. I've got him down as left back because Brodie Spencer is also a right back, but Stephen being experienced, the Armstrong comes inside, and Stephen being right footed can maybe get a few challenges in on, because he's the key to it, because he puts in great balls for Killie. But I think it's an important game for Motherwell as well. They had a good start to the season, but they had that setback last week, and they must know that I think we're all expecting the top 5 to be the big 5 clubs, and there's one place for the top 6 at the bottom end, and it could be one of these 2 teams. So when you're playing against each other, even this early in the season, it's very important to get the 3 points.
Yeah, and I mean, Fraser, we mentioned the task, we spoke about this last night, the task for Stuart Kettlewell of replacing someone like Kevin Van Veen. You probably know you're not going to do it like for like, so can you recruit a selection of strikers that contribute as more of a collective? Mika Beirith looks brilliant on his debut. He's out for 3 months. John Abika's one of the other striking options. He's out injured, and now Connor Wilkinson is added to that list as well. And to rub salt into the wounds, it's still a case of Motherwell appear to need to move players out before they can bring more in. It's a real tough time for Stuart Kettlewell on that front.
Absolutely, and in our show we talk a lot about the Old Firm, obviously. And they get somebody injured in this situation and they just sign somebody else at the end of the window. Celtic, they're talking about 3 centre halves out injured. Yeah, we'll just bring in somebody else before the window closes. It's very difficult for clubs like Motherwell when they've got a budget and they've got 4 strikers in the door. And Joe Efford, who's 1 or 2 strikers today, he's had a real stop-start a year and a half at Motherwell as well because of injuries as well. So who can he rely on? He's got Theo Bair as his lone striker. But you're right, what budget do they have to bring in somebody? And there are probably a few favours been sought from down south. People who have contacts maybe want to get one of the younger players out on loan and get him up here. But again, you're taking that risk. There's a young player from the lower leagues in England. Is he going to do the business up here? So a tough time for Stuart. I really feel for him because Bair, as you said, it was excellent against Hibs and looked the part, really strong and quick. And he's also got a Beaker who's become a fan's favourite, was a fan's favourite at St Mirren as well, out for the foreseeable future, and neither of them might play again this calendar year. So tough times for Motherwell, but that's what happens when you're a club at this size. The budgets are tight, but they've got to make sure they keep it tight at the back. If they do that, then they can always pinch a goal at the other end.
Yeah, I know. You look at this morning's reports that Ricky Lamy could head off to Dundee. I guess that would be with a view to freeing up some sort of finance to then address that. But I think 18, and granted not all of these were first team players, but I think 18 went out the building in the summer, and so far was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in. So still work to be done.
Yeah, still to beef up the squad, and they've got young lads coming in. The squad I said earlier, Ferry, Bowen, McDermott, 16, 17 years old. You've got 17-year-old, if he is 17 now, Lennon Miller.
Yesterday, first driving lesson and all that, and then playing today.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. I've actually never seen him playing, so I'm looking forward to seeing the young lad. I hear really good things about him. So that's the good news, is that there's room for young Scottish talent to come through, because I'm always going on about that in this show, that none of our clubs are leaving a pathway for the young lads to come through. So that's the upside of these injuries as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a real tough time for Stuart Kettlewell, but he's got to just find the balance and work his squad around. He's got experienced players, and you're right, Lamy might go because he's not playing today, and they've still got like Shane Blaney and Nathan McGinley can play, Leslie centre back on the bench as well, so that might just free up some cash. I think there'll be lots of movement across Scottish football in the last few days. There'll just be a scramble trying to get their hands on anybody they can get their hands on, just that might just bring that bit of magic to their squad from down south on loan.
I know you made all this stuff about Wayne Rooney when he got his BMX and he scored that famous goal. He couldn't drive yet. I wonder if Lennon Miller's getting driving lessons that start or end at Fir Park. Just drop me off, I've got something to do at 3 o'clock.
No, get his Uncle Gordon to give him lessons. You want to cross the road?
Oh, I tell you what, I can remember my first driving lessons, about 17 years of age, playing today. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, looking forward to that game for sure. Let's go to Hibs against Livy, because Dave Galloway, who knows what you're going to get with Hibs. I suppose Aston Villa is a different proposition though, isn't it? You can almost forgive a heavy defeat given the differences in budget. How important is the response today?
It's absolutely huge, Gordon. A massive afternoon for Hibs. Anything other than a victory, and surely the natives would be most restless. It's fair to say the jury's out on the manager, and a defeat today would really pile the pressure on. And the team's in much need of a lift. Yeah, there was maybe an excuse for getting well beaten by a much better team, but the nature of the defeat was quite alarming. It was 5. It could have been another Dundee United against Celtic. Really, it could have been 8 or 9 goals. They do need a lift after that pasting, and looking at their games coming up, that just intensifies that need for 3 points today. After today, of course, they have the return leg in Birmingham against Aston Villa. Then they've got back-to-back visits to Aberdeen, and Kilmarnock. Livingston, well, there'll be no pushovers, will they? Davy Martindale always has his teams well organised, doesn't he? And I would say the likes of Guthrie and Newbley, they'll look to impose their size and strength and attack. But you do wonder, don't you? Might their intention be to get after Hibs from the first whistle? Maybe they'll start this one smelling a bit of blood and looking to cause even more grief on Hibs. So an interesting afternoon. But looking at the attackers in both teams, there's a lot of good attacking talent on display. Newbley, Guthrie, Boyle, Doidge, and co. And hopefully that points in the direction of a good entertaining match.
Well, hopefully. Hugh, it just always feels like Lee Johnson's just can never win everyone over in the Hibs support, and you have to take your hat off. The Luzerne games were excellent, good performances, good results, well done to get through. Again, it's hard to really know how much you can hold Aston Villa against him or against the club, but you then will if like the rest of the games don't go well, like this one for instance today.
If Aston Villa played Celtic or Rangers tomorrow, Aston Villa would win. They come from a different world. Maybe not to Celtic and Rangers, but certainly to Hibs. So I don't put everything down to what happened, the 5-0 defeat midweek, and what may very well be another 5-0 when they play at Villa Park. But the fans aren't buying Lee Johnson. They have always had reservations about him. The way he behaved after the game in Andorra when they lost to Interclub de Scaldes didn't go down well either, and he needs a win today. He's played 2, won none. They are joint bottom of the league along with St Johnstone. He needs a win because it's at home and against a Livingston side where he's Aston Villa and they're Hibs. So he's got to get a win today, or I believe if he was to lose the game today, I don't think he would last much longer in the job.
Well, we will see. Hibs against Livy today under the watchful eye of Dave Galloway. Let's go back to Celtic Park, where we are edging ever closer to kick off. And does this fall into the category, David, of it's 3 points plus the performance that Celtic fans would be looking for?
Yeah, 100%, Gordon. I think even it's 3 points plus the performance Brendan Rodgers was looking for. You know, I think over the last couple of years, Celtic, once they found their stride under Ange Postecoglou, had a real swagger about them, a real purpose, entertained. So far this season, it's not really been like that. You know, 4 goals against Ross County, 3 goals against Aberdeen, 2 wins out of 2, not a problem in the league. I just don't think Celtic have ever really hit their stride. And a day like today, nice weather, nice pitch, against a really struggling team, against a new team. As I say, you know, there's 8 summer signings starting for St Johnstone. I think this is a chance for Celtic to go and really put a stamp in this game, entertain the fans, lift the mood around Celtic Park after that defeat to Kilmarnock last week. And I imagine there's going to be players coming in this week as well, so I think it's a huge game for Celtic, especially going to Ibrox next weekend.
Is there any way that St Johnstone do anything other than sit back and make life difficult? We saw Ross County actually kind of going for Celtic a little bit on Flag Day. Now it didn't work in the end and Celtic won comfortably, so sometimes you know there's nothing you can do in a sense, but you just wonder how Stephen McLean approaches it.
Well, before I saw the St Johnstone team, I would have said I think they'll just sit in and, you know, 10 men behind the ball, but he has actually named an attacking team. Now maybe that's out of necessity. As I said, Ryan McGowan is out completely, so he was one of the holding midfielders. Matt Smith, who's one of the attacking midfielders, is going to drop back in, but he's named quite attacking players. Look, Jeff got Jay Turner Cook, Dara Costello, Graham Carey. You know, he's going for it a little bit, which I don't know if that's, is it brave, is it naive? I think if Celtic start knocking the ball about, as I said earlier on, it could be a long afternoon for St Johnstone, but maybe Stephen McLean's looking at it and thinking, well, if you just sit in and defend, you're going to get beat anyway. So it looks as if they're going to try and at least have a bit of a go.
Well, for us, we have to impose our intensity in the game and our work. Every game will be a challenge, and we know that. But I'm really looking forward to playing at home. We've been away for a couple of games. Feels like longer, but the chance to come back home and play and get back on track again feels really good. So I'm looking forward to be a full house, and we'll be ready for it.
Of course, Brendan Rodgers there up against Stephen McLean.
It's going to be very difficult. I think they're coming off a bad result as well, albeit the AstroTurf's a different game, but they'll be wanting to put that right as well. So it'll be a very difficult game, but it's one that we're looking to go there and do well in. And listen, we won't be judged on what happens against Celtic, but we want to go and give a good account of ourselves and make it difficult for them and impose our style on them as well. And so I'm a lot happier with the squad going into this week than I was Ross County game. You could argue both ways that it could be good and bad, but it's always difficult to go to Parkhead or Celtic Park and get a result. So we'll need to be at our best and hope they maybe have an off day. So fingers crossed that happens.
Go on then, David Friel, for anyone who's been out and about and has been a bit busy, just recap those teams for us as we get ready for kick-off.
Yeah, Celtic welcome Alistair Johnston back after a 3-month layoff. He'll be playing at right back. Joe Hart in goals as normal. Alistair Johnston, Gustav Lagerbielke and Liam Scales in from the cold as the central defensive partnership with Greg Taylor in his usual spot at left back. David Turnbull, Callum McGregor and Matt Torello with midfield 3 with Kyogo Daizemeda and Yang, who's making his first Celtic Park start. He'll probably play on the right wing. Subs for Celtic are Bain, Haksabanovic, Abada, Holm, Kwon, Iwata, Bernabe, Forrest and Ralston. As for St Johnstone, it's Dimitar Mitov in goals, Olifanwa, McClelland, Considine and Robinson at the back. Dan Phillips, Matt Smith, Jay Turner Cook, Dara Costello and Graham Carey in behind Luke Jeffcott. Subs for St Johnstone are Richards, Brown, Gallagher, Gordon, May, McPherson, Kane, Kucheravi and Ballantyne.
Well, there we are. As you can hear, it is almost time. It has been a good start to the day, a lively one in Dingwall. Let's see what the 3 o'clock games can throw up. We will find out next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
The busy Saturday continues. We've already had one game, Ross County 0, Rangers 2. Managerial reaction coming to you very shortly. Indeed, we've got 3 big games featured for you this afternoon in the Premiership and one in the Championship as well. So go on then. None of you got the score right in Dingwall. What is the ACCA looking like for these games at 3 o'clock?
Well, I'm going to take Celtic to beat St Johnstone, otherwise there'll be trouble. I will take Hibs to beat Livingston by the skin of their teeth. And sorry Gordon, Kilmarnock to win at Motherwell.
Championship, Thistle, Queen's Park.
Thistle.
Quickly, Mark Wilson.
Same as Hugh, apart from Queen's Park will beat Thistle.
I'm going Celtic, Hibs and Livingston draw, Motherwell, Kilmarnock draw and Thistle.
2 draws.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get your essential medicines and vaccines before you head off on holiday.
Right, come on then. I like 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It just feels like this is where you should be, talking football with you lovely gentlemen in the show, keeping an eye on all the scores, all the moments of madness, all the drama that Scottish football guarantees you on a Saturday afternoon. Yes, we have big games, but there is bound to be some other quirks that come up on a Saturday afternoon. If these 3 are involved, that tends to be the way of things. So are you expecting a fast start from Celtic, Mark Wilson?
You would think so, especially against the opposition that they're coming up against today. St Johnstone really struggling, but Celtic players will be well aware of the criticism that followed Sunday's game against Kilmarnock, and usually that comes with a positive reaction. So Brendan Rodgers would have told them, no uncertain terms, how quickly they want him to start the game. You know, a few interesting selections, but Alistair Johnson, I know he's a right back, but he's so influential in that team. I think so. That's a big bonus for Celtic.
However, he was very influential in an inverted fullback system under Postecoglou.
Good call.
Not saying he's not going to be, but it's just going to be interesting to see, because everyone for the last few weeks has kept saying, well, Greg Taylor was just more suited to what Ange Postecoglou did.
Well,
be a different role for Alistair Johnson.
Certainly will be, and the fullbacks is something that's been highlighted time and time again, that it's maybe detracting a wee bit from the play, but we'll see. Time will tell in this game.
The other thing,
sorry, just quickly, Hugh, just to paint the picture. So Maeda on the right and Yang on the left for Celtic to start off.
Well, with regard to Kyogo, you know, he took advantage of a Nicky Devlin mistake at Aberdeen, scored a great goal and looked like Kyogo. But the way that Brendan Rodgers has deployed him, I think, is beginning to irritate the Celtic fans. And I listen to Super Scoreboard Monday to Friday, and the Celtic fans need a sign today. They need something that encourages them. Injuries, there's nothing that Brendan Rodgers can do about that. He has had the most dreadful luck, but they are playing the team at the bottom of the league. There are 60,000 inside Celtic Park. They have players who are much better than the St Johnstone squad. You said, will they make an early start? They have to.
Fast start all around the country. Airdrie 1, Inverness 0. A Cameron Harper own goal in the first minute. The Palmerston Pep is up and running. Cove Rangers 0. Marvin Bartley's Queen of the South 1. Harvey Walker, and that's what you get for not fancying Kieran Tierney. Arsenal 0, Fulham 1. With the goal there, you know, we always have a wee Scottish bias if we can, and we'll stick the same Scott McTominay, because Man United 0, Nottingham Forest 1 inside 2 minutes. Come on, turn on Steve Clark's boys, get a bit of inspiration, put them in your team, do the right thing. Anyway, looks like Kieran Tierney headed for Real Sociedad. Couple of early corners for Celtic. You're going to love this from David Friel, because I know that you always think you always say he goes in early.
He does.
Apparently Alistair Johnson looks sharp.
Love that, David. I love that.
4 minutes on the clock, and there he is.
Well,
David Friel.
He's just doing shuttle runs back and forward.
The press are always accused of being negative, so when a press man is positive,
4 minutes
the
in.
first thing you do is criticise him.
What a game he's having. He's got a MOM.
He's burst into the box to win a corner. What about this for a scoreline? And I know we focus north of the border. Man United 0, Nottingham Forest 2 inside 4 minutes at Old Trafford.
Ten Hag, get your coat.
Yeah, as they say in Holland, his jacket is on a sugary peg.
I think I have heard that before over there, actually.
But that is a shocking scoreline. Shocking.
Need Scott McTominay. He's a goal machine. It's simple.
Long way to go there.
You think they'll come back from that today?
Yeah, there you go.
Wow, that's a bold claim from you. Whilst we digest it, Hugh, if you are ready, get your sheet primed, because we're going to kick this one off for everyone out there.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I want to know the most appearances made by a Scottish player in the European Cup, as it was, now known as the UEFA Champions League, including qualifying games. Most appearances by a Scottish player. I have half a dozen players here. Who made the top six appearances?
Yeah, top six. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, just the top six. We need to include that in the wording. So it's an interesting one, that, because remember, Hugh was very careful there.
European Cup.
We're looking for the top 6 Scotsmen with the most appearances in the European Cup or Champions League. So it's both. So we could be going back a bit, and we don't often do that on the teaser. So I like it today. It's a bit different. Looking for the top 6 Scotsmen with the most appearances in the European Cup / Champions League. Tricky one. Tricky one indeed today, because we could be going far back, I must say. But we'll give you a helping hand.
When
as
did
it
the
goes.
Champions League?
93.
93.
All right. Around that time.
30 years ago, in other words. So we are going back a fair bit here.
Okay, so Hamilton Accies won up against Montrose. Dylan Tate. Annan 0, FC Edinburgh 1. Kieran Offord. So it's been a bright start down the leagues, waiting on our first Premiership goal at 3 o'clock. Early Livy corner, Oberlai's header saved.
I can imagine the crowd at Easter Road.
Be about 15,000. They're carrying a good crowd just now.
Yeah. But they've all be sitting there in a critical frame of mind. I'm telling you, they're not having Lee Johnson, and they need a sign that Lee Johnson can take this team in a more positive direction.
All the Hibs fans we have on the phone in the last couple of weeks have said they're just kind of torn. Like, they want to like him and they're just not convinced yet. How's about this? I mean, David Friel, this guy Johnson's now actually looking a bit rusty. Unbelievable scenes. He's gone from sharp to rusty.
That's why he gets paid the big money. Give him an hour, 2 minutes, he'll come out an hour.
Rust can be sharp, right? I guess, to be technical about
rusty
it.
nail.
Rusty sharpness.
Honestly.
Bit sharp, bit rusty.
What chance have you got? Anyway, the first half teaser is up and running at Clyde SSB. Get all your guesses down. Try and give me one tweet with all 6 correct answers.
I will guarantee there a goalie in there. Guarantee.
Right, okay.
Well,
no,
you're wrong.
Okay then, I don't guarantee it. I'm the new David Friel.
It's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed, I have to say. But anyway, on the subject of quizzing, have you heard?
No, but you said something earlier and I thought I'll wait till you bring it back up.
Have you heard about this guy?
Beat the pundit, is it?
The old guy in the corner. I can't call him that anymore. It's the genius in the corner, because let's be honest, he's not great at Beat the Pundit. I just have to be honest. He's a mixed bag.
He's the worst out of all.
No, he's better than you, but that's not saying much. Last night,
go
8 out of 8 correct.
And did they go for a 10?
He went for the 10.
No way.
And he got it. I think he's one of the only pundits who's got the 10. We've done it a couple of times, and usually they fall at one of the final hurdles.
Take a bow.
He got a 10 out of 10 and an 8 in the allotted time. It was outstanding.
There was a mascot question. Now, you know how dreadful we are at mascot questions, but it turned out that Sammy was the Tammy at Dunfermline.
Yes.
And I had to break it to Gordon that Sammy the Tammy and I once had an altercation on the touchline.
Oh, was it true or false? Like Sammy,
no, just name him, but Hugh.
Oh,
Hugh
Sammy Tammy, yeah, I remember him, yeah.
And then question 9, which Scottish club did Fabrizio Ravanelli play for?
Dundee.
Our old pal Jim.
Dundee.
Yeah, Jim Duffy signed them.
I'll tell you what, easy. Give the next ones. I'll get 10 out of 10.
And the last one was, who wears 9 for Rangers?
Dessers.
You only answered after he did.
See, not so good.
Honestly,
now,
10 out of 10.
Well done, Hugh.
It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. Great effort.
Gordon gave me the sheet with all the questions on it, and I've kept it. I'm putting
We're all going to sign
wall.
it for him and he'll frame
Brilliant.
it. Hold on, this is a big one.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
It's a goal at Easter Road, and it's for Livy. It was a cross from James Penrice, stabbed home by that great servant to Livy, Scott Pittman. And I can just about hear the Hibs fans grumbling from here. Livingston 1 up at Easter Road.
Well, as I say, I believe that if he loses the game today, Lee Johnson won't last a week as the Hibs
Seriously?
Yeah.
No.
In between the Villa ties.
But the Villa ties are written off anyway. You know, as I say, I don't bring Villa into the equation because, as I say, Celtic would lose to Villa tomorrow. Rangers would lose to Villa tomorrow, home or away.
I just always wonder though about any team, not necessarily Hibs. You know, you spend the full summer allowing a manager to bring his own players in, and then 3 league games?
I think what will save them is the fact that Hibs have got this little bit of a reputation of sacking managers quite a lot. I think they'll give him time. Yes, he'll come under pressure from the supporters of that, there's no doubt, because even in the first game of the season against St Mirren, I couldn't believe the criticism he was getting. But I still think he'll be in the manager's.
Managers don't exist in defiance of the supporters. And if the supporters keep on telling the club this guy is not doing the job,
it's not outright supporter revolt yet, though, is it? Like I say, we've had a number of Hibs fans on in the last few weeks that just say that they're just a bit torn, they're just a bit in the middle. They want to like him. There's some good days and bad days.
It will still come down to, if Livingston win this game, it will come down to 3 league games played, no wins, bottom of the table. It can't go on indefinitely.
No, but 6, 7, 9, 11 league games is just worse than 3, isn't it? That, it's just so early.
I go back to last season, El Sakiko. It was either him or Jim Goodwin, and he got a 6-0, and Jim Goodwin was out of the Aberdeen job that night within 15 minutes.
Much though for Lee Johnson, though, does it, in terms of now?
Well, all I can tell you is that there's a negative feeling about him, and the Hibs fans can't watch the team lose at home to Livingston.
I see that it's gone down in some quarters as a Jordan Obita own goal, but either way I don't think David Martindale will care. Celtic lots of the ball, lots of territory, no great chance. Well, in fact, a cross there from Alistair Johnson.
Is he rusty or sharp?
A bit of both. And Kyogo volleys just wide. So Celtic doing all the attacking so far, no breakthrough, 10 gone.
See, we were talking about Celtic have got to be in the front foot, Celtic have got to be this. I think that this afternoon Celtic will need to be patient, because I think St Johnstone will camp in. I think they'll try and make it difficult. So Celtic will just need to be patient. Brendan Rodgers will do that.
We do dive into cliches a lot. The Ross County game, Celtic didn't start great, and then they go and win it comfortably. Rangers a couple of weeks ago at Ibrox, 12 minutes to go, they're 1 up against Livy, they win 4-0. Kind of, lasts 90 minutes for a reason, Mark.
Yeah, well, winning is all that matters, or really.
Another one of these
goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Kelly started the better of the sides, and it has paid off already. Marley Watkins, it was almost an own goal by Dan Casey just before, and then Marley Watkins gets in on the act and puts Kilmarnock 1-1. Fraser Wishart, he knows his football. He said before the game, Danny Armstrong provides all the ammunition, and indeed it was his cross, back post, and there was Marley Watkins to header home.
Well, I've got Watkins jotted down here when Fraser was chatting. He mentioned the back line being a real positive, but I think Watkins has been a real positive when he's come in. He's got strength, he's got running power, and he can finish, and he's having a good week, putting Kelly ahead they're looking good this season,
That's
Kelly.
good.
They really are, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've started brilliantly, haven't they? My Ball Armstrong is a good player, I've got to say. He just holds on to it a little bit too much for me at times, but obviously today he's released at the right time. Goal against Motherwell.
Signed well, Mark. You know, such a clear strategy. It's all guys that have known the league pretty much. Corey and Daba, one of the lone players who's not playing today, him aside, it's just all kind of Scottish players that know the league, which by the way guarantees you nothing, but I just mean it's a deliberate attempt from Derek McInnes. The early signs are that it's working, and it's difficult for these teams because they're all in the same market for the kind of the same players, you know, Kilmarnock and Motherwell. So you wonder, you look at someone like Marley Watkins, that could be a real shrewd piece of business.
Well, if you're shopping the same market, if you're kind of offering the same wages, what it comes down to is the manager and how he persuades players. Now, Derek McInnes, with lots of experience, I've worked under him, he's a great manager to work under. If he gets in front of you and he tells you your plan, you're going with Derek. I can guarantee that out of most managers in this league. So he's managed to bring in a few, but he's built his backline. When Fraser mentioned Mayo, Finlay, Dees, good signings, good defenders who you can build something upon. Then when you look forward, you've got Armstrong with pace, you've got Watkins with pace, you always stand a chance. And Vassell's in today, he's the captain, but he's had to spend some of his time on the bench because of the way Derek wants to play. So he's got a much more rounded squad this year than he did last year, and they've started brilliantly.
Defensively wise, I think they'll be very good. I think they're well organised. I think Fraser touched on it when he was talking about his report, that scoring goals, if they can get somebody to score goals for them this season, I think they could be they could have a real good season.
They get places on very little. You know, they beat Celtic 1-0. That's Celtic's fault. They beat Rangers 1-0. That's Rangers' fault. You know, so they get by on not very much.
Are you expecting a comfortable victory against Celtic and Rangers in the future?
No, I'm just saying that they make the most of what they've got, and what they've got is limited when compared to Celtic and Rangers. But when they go to Motherwell today,
it's a sign, isn't it? Because last year the away form was so bad. You know, if they can start saying that, I think they did, funnily enough, win at Fir Park. But if they can start going on the road and doing that, it'd be a good sign, wouldn't it?
I think it's all based too on, you know, Marley Watkins is 32 years old. He's been around the block several times, but there he is, the scorer of the winning goal against Celtic. Now the guy who's put Motherwell one behind. At the back with Robbie Dees, Stuart Finlay, Lewis Mayo. Derek McInnes has put together a trio of players there who don't give anything away.
Pressure increasing on the St Johnstone goal. Turnbull shot deflected over. Great play from Yang. And then a Turnbull corner to O'Reilly. The volley was saved. So Celtic are turning the screw a little bit, but St Johnstone hanging on in there, not doing much in an attacking sense, but just about managing to keep Celtic out at the moment. And don't forget, Livy are winning at Easter Road and Killie are winning at Fir Park.
Well, you know, it's all very well Celtic being in control of the game, but the fans are looking for something. They're looking for comfort before they go to Ibrox next week. They're certainly looking for 3 points, that's a must, but they're looking for the comfort of an encouraging display.
There you are, Gordon Dalziel. Man United are back in it. Christian Eriksen,
as I say, 2 goals in 4 minutes at Old Trafford. Still a long way to go. Man U won that about 4-2. Yeah. Mark my words.
I believe you. You sound confident. You're backing it up so far. They're back in the game.
I think Mark and I have got the teaser ready.
Oh yeah, Hugh, remind us of the teaser, please.
Okay, I want 6 names. They are the names of the players who have made most appearances, including the qualifying rounds, in what used to be known as the European Cup and is now known as the Champions League. So who are the 6 players?
Right, you can have a go at Clyde SSB, and remember it's European Cup / Champions League. Easy for me to say. KP Jer wants to throw in Andy Robertson.
No.
I wonder how far
I don't think we've got the teaser.
Callum Gallagher, presumably not the one that works in here, wants to throw in Paul Lambert.
No.
You can see he's thinking there, obviously, you know, Borussia Dortmund and so on, but you need a fair few to get on this list. And Bailey wants to, I think Bailey's maybe got the time off, and some thrown in the likes of Scott McTominay.
No.
Nah, okay, right. At Clyde SSB, keep your guesses coming. The 6 Scots with the most appearances in the European Cup / Champions League. So get them over to us. Another low O'Reilly cross, no takers on this occasion. Doy just had a header that skims the top of the net for Hibs. So it's a fairly busy old start there.
O'Reilly effort that was well saved by the St Johnstone goalie there. Well worked. David Turnbull, lovely little clip corner kick in. It was brilliant, and O'Reilly takes it well. So hard to take that coming across you. A nice move, obviously one that's been worked on in the training ground.
We're not really going to get, I don't think, much of a reading of Lagerbielke and Liam Scales, because St Johnstone, St Johnstone are living in their own half.
But a big part of being a Celtic centre half, and that's Brendan Rodgers' side, is in possession as well. You know, not just shirking responsibility, actually taking the ball forward, committing a St Johnstone player and being able to make the passes round about them. So although we won't see them defending, get a fair idea of how comfortable they are when Celtic have the ball. You just seen an instant there of Kyogo, this new role that we see Kyogo playing, where he drops into the hole so quick off the centre half, and it's that first time ball. Worked in the first day of the season, played in O'Reilly. Just O'Reilly wasn't in the same wavelength just then to go into that one, but obviously going to be something Celtic are continuing to do.
Morton nil, Arbroath 1. Michael McKenna with the goal on 20 minutes there. Had a wonderful season that season that Arbroath were flying high near the top of the league. We can see Kyogo Gordon, he's dropping deep again. A real feature of his performances this season, and
yeah, certainly
it worked really well in the opening day
against Ross
County, didn't it?
Yeah, he plays that first time ball. He's very clever at it. There's an argument to say, do you want Kyogo in these sort of areas, or do you want him playing on the defender's shoulder where he's absolutely dynamite? I like the way he plays. I think it gives the centre backs a bit of a problem. He creates nice space for other players, midfield players running, for instance O'Reilly, who scored the goal that day. So I think Brendan Rodgers has just looked at him and thought, there's more to your game, and I'm going to add a little bit more in there, and he'll certainly get his fair share of goals.
It's successful if he maintains his goal scoring numbers, but if his goal scoring numbers start to drop, for me it's not successful.
It's a good point, Hugh. Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, it looks good.
Well,
he's more
involved. It would be all about the team though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What happens if the midfield players' goals increase?
Kyogo's there to be a goal scorer. That's what he's.
Yeah, but like, both can be true. If Kyogo scores 10 less this season, but as a result everyone else around him gets 20 more, then
but it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
That's a different scenario though. You shift the goalposts.
We've got two lots.
But it's not. I'm saying Kyogo's a goal scorer. If he's scoring consistently, like Hugh says, then great. If it diminishes, you're not going to have the same goal return. I know people chip in with goals, but it won't be the same. Kyogo's here to be a goal scorer.
It's also one of those tactical tweaks that the fans don't like. They want to see Kyogo always.
That's my point. They did like it in the opening day of the season. Why are we rewriting history here?
And with us, I think the fans. I'll disagree with you on that point. I think the fans do like seeing Kyogo getting involved.
Again,
because
if it's working,
I think he's got the ability. And quite often we stood here and we looked at Kyogo and said, for large portions, you never see Kyogo. He does, he's always just on the shoulder of defenders. Now you're seeing him more involved.
Tell you what, a sign of a team who's enjoying their start to the season. What a terrific Kilmarnock support at Fir Park. That's the biggest I've seen there in a while for sure. Almost that bottom tier completely full. So they've come along you're obsessed to go along the M77 down the M74. You could go down through
East Kilbride through 44 roundabouts
if you fancied it.
Turn left before just at Strathclyde Park onto the motorway again off the 74, up Airbles Road, take the right of the roundabout, just park roundabout there, always plenty of free spaces. And I've got to say to you, Gordon, the crowds are coming back.
Bit of a I don't think they've ever gone anywhere.
No, but from last season, I'll guarantee you look at attendances now. The fans are there. They want to see entertaining football. Last
season was a record-breaking season for SPFL crowds.
I'll bet there are more this season.
Okay.
17,500 at Hibs and St Mirren first game of the season.
He's obsessed because he went to one game of football.
No, I went to Motherwell and who were they playing that day?
Can't even remember.
Hibs, but you left early though. You left early.
Yeah.
Anyway, do me a favour, Mark
Has
Wilson.
Brendan Rodgers got a B in his buckle and his belt?
Yeah,
A B for Brent.
No, that's boomerang. That's boomerang. That's
I
for
just
B for
got a glimpse of that.
Probably an expensive make that you've never heard of.
a Bentley.
Brendan.
Boomerang.
Can you
Brendan.
do me a favour, Mark Wilson, right? This is a bit left field. I've got a request from you. Go and sign your autograph on a piece of paper for me and hold it up.
My autograph, okay.
Yeah, I just want to test. Just want to test the water with something. Well, funny you've said that because you obviously don't know what's coming next.
At the top there.
Wow, it actually looks like it's true. Alarming news has reached me here at Clyde One Super Scoreboard HQ. Did you sign? And you're going to love this, Gordon Dalziel. Stand by your mic, please. You are going to love this.
What is that?
Did you sign anyone's leg last night?
Please tell me, mate. Please tell me it wasn't
I quite often on a Friday evening go about signing the limbs of people who ask. I did actually sign somebody's leg.
Where were you last night? How's this come about?
Well, I was with my old pal Charlie Mulgrew, and we were doing a
sort of Q&A type
Q&A,
thing.
yeah, with a Celtic state of mind in Simon's bar on Max. It was great night, well attended, but quite unusual. A lady at the end of the night, I thought she was at the window. She says, "Can you sign my leg?" And I said,
little did the lady know that he made up 4 middle names.
I said, "You must, yeah, you were obviously joking." She went, no, I'm being serious. So she handed me a Sharpie and I said, "No, you're joking, eh?" She went, "No, Charlie signed it as well. Can you sign it?"
Hold on,
So she pulled up the trouser leg and said,
on the calf.
Sign it. She went, "Go sign it on the calf."
On the calf, the calf's good.
So I says, "You sure? I'm going to devalue your leg here." And I signed it and she went, "I'll get that tattooed in the morning." And I went, very good.
No.
Sorry, that's the end of the story.
No.
Here comes the punchline.
No way.
It appears.
Did she not sober up?
It appears to have been tattooed on. Genuinely. Incredible. Someone sent me the picture. Mark Wilson's picture tattooed on this morning.
That's gotta be one of the worst ideas from anyone ever. But fair player, good to her word.
Oh my God. What is that person thinking about?
Well, obviously she knew the value of the signature. And Gordon, see, when she said that, I had to ask her 3 or 4 times.
Hugh,
I said, "You're kidding, aren't you? You're kidding, you're getting that tattooed." And she went, No, she said that. She says, "No, I've got Kyogos on the front, on my shin." She showed me Kyogos.
No, I don't think it's Kyogo's signature. It appears to just be a little bit of it's like a little picture of Kyogo.
Was it Kyogo? Oh, right, okay.
I think so anyway. I could be wrong.
And I went, great, but you're not being serious again. Aye. But that confirmation this morning, listen,
do you know about this morning?
Well, I signed her leg, didn't I?
But did you know she went and got it tattooed?
Well, I heard.
Is that a tattoo or is it just...
No, it's a real deal.
The pen.
It genuinely appears to be.
It's a real deal.
Legit.
Can you imagine a Saturday morning, you're a tattooist and you're sitting in Glasgow, and in comes hobbling girl with a leg up going, "Stick a tattoo the Wilson on there, would you?"
Who's that?
Luckily for you, we're about to be saved by one of these.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it's Partick Thistle 1, Queen's Park 0. Kerr McInroy, who scored on 26 minutes. Stevie Lawless with the cross, McInroy with the finish. And it's Chris Doolan's boys who go in front, Hugh.
Well, let's see. McInroy, I think, was at Celtic as a youngster.
He was, and then of course was at Killie most recently.
Yeah. I'd like to know the size of the crowd at Firhill, because they must be enjoying themselves. And I'm watching the advance of Queen's Park with great interest, but Chris Doolan has got his team in front.
Bit of a sitter for Celtic, according to David Friel. We've argued enough about what a sitter is. It was a McGregor cross to O'Reilly. He should burst the net, but he goes straight at the keeper from 10 yards out. So Celtic doing lots of probing, but no breakthrough as yet.
He's a lackadaisical finisher, Matt O'Reilly.
He scored twice already this season. He's got 2 and 2 in the league.
If he wasn't a lackadaisical
He'd have
finisher,
10.
Stunning.
We've got the old David Friel in the studio.
One of them, he put his laces through it into the roof of the net.
if he wasn't a lackadaisical finisher, he'd have 4 and not 2.
You're not messing
you're
about
a
this season,
tough
are you?
school,
You're
Hugh.
not messing about.
I am telling you, 25 minutes in, the crowd at Celtic Park will not be impressed by this.
Let's see, Hugh. That's why you've not got anybody with tattoos on them with your name.
No,
That's it.
Man.
No,
Lisa,
I'm a bit
who I
jealous
found
of
out
that.
it was Lisa, the girl's name was.
Yep.
Well done, Lisa. If you want a Hugh Keevins tattoo,
We can sort
he's
that
available
out.
for
Yeah, we can
signings.
sort that out, no problem
see,
whatsoever.
I don't need to ingratiate myself with the public.
Oh, O'Reilly should score.
Of course he should.
What did you call him?
Lackadaisical finisher.
Oh, well done.
Well,
That is a sitter. That is an honest to goodness sitter.
It may well be, but you would think you would sort of hold criticism of Matt O'Reilly's finish for a time when he hasn't scored in every league game so far this season.
I am
That would be
telling you,
logical, wouldn't it?
In general terms, I'm not just going on about O'Reilly. In general terms, the Celtic supporters will not be enthralled by what they're watching.
Okay, great.
And you'll find that out at 5 o'clock.
If things don't change.
Uh-huh.
Indeed. But he has still scored in every league game so far this season.
He's only played 3.
And it's only 27, 28 minutes in the clock, Hugh.
Anyway, still goalless there. Motherwell trail at home to Kilmarnock. Livy leading at Easter Road. You're still reeling from this tattoo story, aren't you?
Amazing, eh? What about that, eh?
How can you get a tattoo when look at all these Celtic players, the talent, the
legends.
The legends.
It goes to show you how good the show was last night.
He's now Super Scoreboard's Mark Wilson rather than Celtic's Mark Wilson.
I don't even know how Andy remembers him.
That's what I was going to say. But music last night to welcome us on. Charlie's got a song Celtic fans sing about him, and it's my mate Davey that was playing the music, and I got welcome on to the Super Scoreboard.
Because you don't have a song by the Celtic fans.
I don't have a song.
I've got a song for you.
Mark Wilson. David Turnbull goes miles over from 30 yards out, but there we go, a tattoo. See, that's what we need. That's the level you need to aspire to. Is there anyone out there with your signature Gordon Dalziel tattooed on them? That's the level you need to get to.
Ingrained in the memory. Bad memories more.
I've
like.
got to say,
that's impressive, eh?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You've signed a few documents in your time,
yes,
but never anyone's calf. So there we go.
I was going to say I didn't do much to impress you. It wasn't me.
But that's your star power, quite clearly.
Yeah.
Maybe she was expecting me to sign it a wee bit smaller. I think looking at that tattoo, she's got better Celtic players than me to fit in. I've taken up quite a bit of room there.
Do you know another thing, right? And you always know them. You can see them a mile away, and then they just verify it, right? When they
It's going to be offensive.
They put their signature down. That doesn't even look like his name, does it?
Yeah, it was going to be.
That's a practice because he thinks he's a big time and he'll get asked for his autograph.
Well, he obviously does.
Right.
Well, people are offering up legs and arms and that.
All
I
sorts.
don't know. You've got to be quick with the autograph.
I wonder if we should start a conversation on Twitter. Send me all your regrettable tattoos. Let's see what we can come up with. I don't know what you're laughing at anyway.
Well, go.
You got a homemade one. Someone
And then
tattooed,
rubbed it off.
You tattooed your own nickname on you.
Then I had
when
to
you
get
were
an
young.
operation, yeah.
G-A-W.
Why did you tattoo your own nickname onto that part of your arm just above your watch?
It was a trend then. There was a lot of good trends.
Never
going
seen
about.
that trend ever.
Oh, and then I had to wear a plaster for about 6 years until I got it removed.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
He might have scored at the wrong end last week, but he's found the right end this time. It's Brian Graham. Partick Thistle enjoying their afternoon. Queen's Park not so much. It's 2-0 to the Jags, Hugh.
Yeah, I did forecast a Jags home win. It's the biggest setback that Queen's Park have had since the season started, because they've been going really well. So all credit to Chris Doolan's team, because they took a pasting at Tynecastle and they have come back in the most positive fashion.
Any fools in here tip Queen's Park to win?
No. None of us. Oh, did you?
I did, sorry.
All right,
Well,
but
it's
he's
justified.
got a free day. He's got a free hit.
Aye.
He's a superstar. But I was just going to say 30 odd minutes in the clock. We've got a goal at every game apart from Celtic Park.
Airdrie have scored again. Airdrie 2, Inverness 0. Callum Gallagher with the goal
Looking
in
good
that one.
this season.
Dies and Maida cuts in, lines one up and hits it right into the corner of the Green Brigade. So that maybe sums up the way that the finishing has gone in recent minutes. If you're Stephen McLean, are you just taking this off and
you're delighted?
You just in sections. You're just sort of hoping that get to 30, get to 45, because they're offering nothing else. Is it just about digging in and hoping?
Well, just getting as many bodies in the box and around their own defensive box as possible.
Another one of these. What a game for Michelle Evans.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Back in it, Mark
Yes,
Wilson.
come on, the Queens.
Rory Payton moved from one Queen's to the other, didn't he? Was he not Marvin Bartley's boy last season? And he's gone to Queen's Park there. So a good game that. Partick Thistle 2, Queen's Park 1. Reminder.
Sorry, I was going to say, the reason I tipped Queen's Park is because Thistle cannot keep a clean sheet. So poor at the back. So that game's back in the mix.
A reminder of your teaser, please, Hugh.
I want 6 names. I need the half dozen names of the Scottish players who have made the most appearances in what was once known as the European Cup, is now known as the Champions League, including the qualifying round.
Okay, Callum wants to throw in Scott Brown. Maybe gave away one of the correct answers there. Had a nightmare.
Done Callum. Now looking for 5.
I hadn't checked the list. What about? Double checked at that time. Kenny Miller, is he on it?
No chance.
Okay. Stephen Graham wants to throw in Barry Ferguson.
No.
Okay, I gave one away. I don't mind that because it's actually really tough.
Show Hugh, I think we've got these.
So I don't mind that at all.
Hugh, have a look at them. Just
If
tick
you
them
can
off
read
as
that
you
right.
go along there. 6 ticks to the right there, Hugh, would be fine.
Like a school teacher marking the homework.
3 you've got.
3 ticks to
good
the
on
right,
me.
okay.
50% of the way there. Mark Wilson's too busy thinking about his tattoo
so am I.
exploits.
Or the next person who offers up anything to be signed, any part
You
of the
just
body.
outdone me.
Of course I've outdone you. You never had that before?
No.
I get it often.
Spectacular, isn't it? I could not believe
I'm
it when I saw it
impressed.
this morning.
Right, I'm raging and impressed.
It's not so much me, it's the lady that chose to actually go through with it.
But someone, right, and that's what I'm saying, the tattoo's gone. How many hours did that tattoo's must
I don't
go?
know.
Are you really sure, kid? Really? Mark who? Mark, alright, him it's named after Dallas. Right? Oh, come on. He probably had his Celtic book out saying, look, pick any other one. Pick any other one. Please.
Lustig, Adam Matthews,
Shaduri.
just get
Chaz easier, isn't it? Hugh, would you like to hear from Michael Beale following
Yes, indeed.
today's game in Dingwall?
Get me away from these two.
Let's do it.
Delighted for Kamar. Obviously we conceded from a set play in midweek, so it was important we went and evened that up in terms of being strong in the other box, and typical Kamar finish really, just that goal scorer instinct. James scores an excellent goal, and at that stage I'm looking for us to go and get the third before half time, but either way it's a strong first half away from home. Second half we had big chances at times, but didn't have the control I always wanted. Fair play to Malky, changed the shape a little bit second half, and they stayed completely positive all the way through the game. I think the front two are going to be a handful for everybody in terms of their work ethic and stuff like that. So I'm delighted with the clean sheet. I thought the 2 centre-backs defended well. I thought Jack looked assured again. I was pleased with John Lundstrom today as well. He did a lot of the unsung things that people won't see, playing in front of the 2 centre-halves and at times making a back three. So delighted. I thought the 2 subs that come on as well at a moment where the game was stretched showed that we've got variety in terms of pace.
I think Michael Beale spoke it as we saw it. It was a good day for Kamar Roof. First start for 18 months and got his goal. The goal from Tavernier was outstanding, and Malcolm Mackay did put up a decent show. If Jordan White had scored early in the second half, we could have been talking about a game that was more of a contest than it actually turned out to be. So it was a very comfortable day for Rangers. They come back down the road feeling good about themselves, and they'll be listening intently to find out what is going on at Celtic Park, because right now, with 10 minutes of the first half to go, not a lot is going on at Celtic Park.
Yeah, going a bit flat now, certainly after some early pressure. What about what we heard there from Michael Beale, Gordon? Obviously delighted with Kamar Roof in particular.
Oh yeah, that's a massive bonus, because he's got a very good goal scoring player back in that squad. He could play a big part if he keeps himself fit. He's missed a lot of football through injury. He'll be delighted with his contribution. Gordon gets him off and running with a terrific goal at the back post. So I think, all in all, I think it's a very good day for Rangers, and they'll be happy coming down the road.
He's right in highlighting the two central defenders, I think, today, because a lot of the praise will always get heaped on the guys further up the pitch. But when you look at Souttar's performance again, you look at Goldson, how White and Murray, hurried and harassed them at times and barged into them, and they always just were in the right place at the right time. So any successful team, you have to have a good goalkeeper, an assured goalkeeper, and in front of him you need two centre halves that can defend against physical players, against quicker players, positionally very good. Today he's really pleased with those two. So good foundations there for Rangers, and the rest will just come naturally. Guys in front of Lundstrom, he highlighted as being a real plus. So a lot of good things for Rangers.
And Kamal Roof, Hugh, we said it before he came through the game. He's, as far as we know, he's fine for now. So he gets the chance to recover midweek, not in the European squad unless I've missed something. And then on we go. I suppose first of all it's for him is about being available first of all, and then you try and add the performances on top of that.
The way he bullied his way to the goal he scored today, then if he was to start against Celtic with a makeshift central defensive pairing of Lagerbielke and Scales, Celtic would have to try and do something about him, because he scores consistently, and he's physically strong in the box.
Well, on a Saturday I'll always tell you about select goals from down south, particularly if we can put a kilt on it, as they say. Kevin Nisbet, there we go, 38 minutes gone, Millwall 1, Stoke 0. So good to see him on the score sheet in the Championship.
That's his first goal, Gordon?
I think in the league, certainly. Yeah, he was doing well in pre-season.
Against one of our Scottish managers, Alex Neil, who's a manager of Stoke. But that's good for listen, he's a goal scorer, boy, good player. I liked him with Hibs. I think he's been a big loss to Hibs, but that's a good start for me.
Speaking about big crowds, there'll be a good one at East End Park for Dunfermline against Wraith Rovers. I was speaking to our very own Stephen Mill, who's at the game today, and he reckoned there could be 8,000 to 9,000 there, and Wraith have gone in front.
I played in them a few times, Hugh, and I've got to say, great fixtures.
I dare say the decisions have been probably made by now, but Scotland squad gets announced on Monday, so not a bad time for Kevin Nisbet to score if there is still room. Of course, Shea Adams is now fit, wasn't for the last squad. He's made a goal scoring start to life in the Championship at Southampton, linked with a move to Everton, which is one of his middle names, by the way. Which
is
we heard
that true?
Yeah, which we heard on Beat the Pundit this
week.
week.
It was me.
Not Ched Evans, who you were googling. That's where it went wrong.
Lawrence Shankland, of course, has made a good goal scoring start to the season. So fascinating to see who gets the nod. Will there be a first call up for someone like Ben Doak?
Well, you've got to get him into the fold, and if he's good enough to play in Liverpool's first team, it doesn't matter that he's only 17. If he's good enough for Jurgen Klopp, he's good enough for us.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, Steve Clarke surely has earned the right for people to just not criticise his squads too much. But Hugh makes a convincing argument that I'm sure many would agree with.
Well, it's been a quick rise for the young man since we've seen him. He came on in the game against Rangers, didn't he, for Celtic, and then he was out the door as quick as that, and he just keeps getting better and better. And the more attacking players like that we have, then the better for us. But I think he might just miss out this time. I think he might.
Speaking of young Scots, Ethan Errahon, remember him of St Mirren's fame? He scored for Lincoln down there as well. Maeda not sharp enough to get on the end of a Yang cross. Crowder grumbling, Hugh.
What did I tell you?
They're on your wavelength here.
You are all sleepwalking here, because this is not what the Celtic fans want to see. They are playing the team at the bottom of the league. David Friel rhymed off all of the negative stats about St Johnstone. For this to be 0-0 at the end of the first half is ridiculous.
Goalie time wasting already. It's going to be a long afternoon. He's getting pelters. He's running down the clock with 50 minutes remaining at Celtic Park.
Quite right. Every tactic you can possibly imagine. Listen, if St Johnstone get in 0-0 at half time, they would be over the moon.
Result of the day so far looks like it's coming down the league. Stenhousemuir 0, Dumbarton 4 before we've even reached half time. So James Hilton with the fourth for Dumbarton, a Ross McLean double in there as well. Joel Newbley's won a corner for Livy, driving run down the left. If you think the Celtic fans are grumbling, I wonder how the Hibs fans are feeling.
Well, it's the same story. You know, home defeat is unacceptable. If Celtic drop points today, you had better get an asbestos covering over the phones, because at 5 o'clock the fans will be ripping in to the manager.
That was a question. If you remember, this was a question about Hibs.
And it's the same story in Easter Road. I've already told you, I've already declared myself, if Lee Johnson loses today, I don't think he'll be the Hibs manager when they play their next league game.
They'll be looking for something, Mark, before the end of the half. That moaning that will take place at Easter Road when they trudge off at half time otherwise.
Well, I was mentioning Partick Thistle and saying how they can keep a clean sheet. Hibs are the exact same. Going forward, you know, great talent, great speed. Looks like he's made good signings at the back, though liability, and he needs to get that right before anything. Hibs fans have every right to complain if that remains the scoreline going into half time.
Yeah, David Martindale will be keen to get his points on the board as well.
That's
Gordon Dalziel.
Probably one of the teams, if you lose a goal against Livingston, they'll sit
drag
they make it very difficult for you. But look, it's not up to Livingston to go there and entertain. It's up to them to go and get 3 points, and they've got off to a great start. But Hibs fans will certainly not be happy.
It's lovely in recent times now had quite a decent record going to Easter Road. That memory serves me right. I think David Martindale always sets his sides up okay there. Somebody will tweet in and say I've got that totally wrong.
Love this update from Dave Galloway, who tells me that there's been another hold up because Guthrie's boot accidentally connected with Hardbottle's head. It's like the way that's as if it's just the boot. It's not, the foot's not in it, it's just the actual boot itself.
Detailed.
So maybe not that close to half time there. We'll round off that teaser soon as well. So if you want to quickly fire some more answers over, how do you two think you're feeling?
The Dazzler
has been good.
Eating this up.
Yeah, he's enjoying this one. Yeah,
it's sort of a
Do you want Mark Wilson to sign your leg or your chest?
Get that calf
backside.
Get me a Sharpie in here now.
Maybe get you on
the bicep.
He's
He's been working in that, particularly that left bicep for the camera. Tuesday and Thursday. That picks him up.
I don't do individual working on biceps, Mark.
2 minutes added at Celtic Park. Goalie's still at it. Always, you know, they've obviously added on time now, or they've said they're going to add on more time. You always wonder about why don't the rest just sort of, you know, you book someone early for it and then it just kind of nips it in the bud, doesn't it?
100%. Yeah, 100%. They need to start doing that. And that's the way that will be effective. I think Yang is looked
in the bright spot,
effective. You know, coming in off that left hand side, it looks like he's positive, willing to go by people. Just can't pick that final ball out just now. But I think he looks a promising signing.
2 minutes added at Fir Park as well. But remember, Kelly lead in that one, so Motherwell would try and claw themselves back into it, but it sounds like Kelly are fairly good for that lead. Fraser Wishart can bring us up to speed at the half-time interval, which isn't too far away. Right, Hugh, are you ready for this? We're going to round it off.
Here I come.
The first half teaser
with the ScottishSun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
The 6 Scottish players who made most appearances in the European Cup or the Champions League, including qualifying rounds, are Kenny Dalglish, Darren Fletcher, Billy McNeil, Bobby Lennox, Jimmy Johnston and Scott Brown.
Well done. If you got all of them, that was some effort. Gordon Dalziel's punching the air. Did you genuinely get all of them? Well done to you.
We got them all.
Well done to everyone who took part. Lots of correct answers there. At Rundle Lewis, is it Rundell? Rundle, well done Lewis. Anyway, Thomas Snedden in second place, and Sideshow Bob was the winner. We've got a good Who Am I for you later on in the show as well. So well done to everyone. You had to go back on that list, a bit of a history lesson, that one, which I don't mind at all. Open
you
to
liked that
fans
one
of all ages.
I like
that's
that.
more his era, that's right.
Scribbling away.
Some great players there. Dalglish, Souness, Jinky.
Half time, Celtic Park, David Friel.
Half time, Gordon, Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0. I think it's an understatement to say this has been a frustrating first 45 minutes for Brendan Rodgers and his players. He wanted a reaction after last week's defeat to Kilmarnock. He expected the reaction. Celtic have been better, they have been on top, but they haven't had that little bit of quality in the final third to get the opener. They really need a spark. They have had chances, the best of which fell to Matt O'Reilly, but I think it's fair to say St Johnstone keeper Dimitar Mitov probably expected to be busier. He has already started time wasting. He's getting a lecture from referee Matthew McDermott just now walking off the pitch, but Celtic will need to be better in the second half. Their first attempt came in 12 minutes, the returning Alistair Johnston. He's been busy sitting across, and Kyogo flashed a volley wide. 15 minutes they had 2 chances in quick succession. Celtic Yang showed great skill down the left, picked out David Turnbull. His shot was deflected over from the resultant corner. Turnbull's clever chip found Matt O'Reilly. His volley was tipped over by Mitov at the second attempt. O'Reilly was getting forward at every opportunity and should have put Celtic ahead in 27 minutes. David Turnbull, Cal McGregor, they combined down the left. Cal McGregor picked him out with a low cross 10 yards out, but he fired straight at Mitov. O'Reilly couldn't believe he hadn't scored, neither could the Celtic fans. And Celtic's next attack, Yang, he's been busy. He found space inside the box but fired over from a tight angle. It's been all Celtic. St Johnstone have pretty much been camped in their own half. Their only slight sniff of goal came when Luke Jeffcott shot wide from a Graham Carey cross. Apart from that, it's been all Celtic, but it's fair to say Steve McLean, St Johnstone manager, will be the happier of the two. Brendan Rodgers will be expecting more in the second half. Half time, Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0.
And it's half time at Fir Park, I think. Is it Fraser Wishart? Yes, it is.
It is. Gordon, Motherwell 0, Kilmarnock 1. And just from the kick-off, Kilmarnock have played with the confidence of a team that started the season so well, and it's a Marley Watkins goal that has them 1 up, and they've dominated play and had chances to increase that lead. They were actually had a chance after only 15 seconds, straight from kick-off down the right-hand side. The ball fell inside the box to Dan Armstrong. I think Motherwell delighted it fell to the winger's right foot and not his left. And the shot was blocked, and I think the winger knew he could have done better. Then Dan Casey headed an Armstrong corner clear from under his own bar, and no surprise, the away team took the lead in 12 minutes. Casey almost headed into his own net, and right across the face of goal, Kelly beaten and just wide for a corner. And from that corner, it was cleared back to Armstrong. They then cut inside, lovely chip to the back post. Marley Watkins headed it home. It was a really good finish despite Kelly's efforts. Motherwell fans really quiet, a few rumblings been heard. They hadn't tested Dennis in the first 20 minutes. It almost got worse for them in 22. A lovely David Watson cross to the right, found to Kyle Vassell. 8 yards out, the big striker, the skipper, he had a free header. He really should have done better. He didn't get good contact in it, and it went across the face of goal and wide. Motherwell's first chance and came in 28 minutes. It wasn't due to any good play by them, but due to slack play by Vassell. He tried to shepherd the ball out near the byline. Cam Slattery nipped in, got to the ball, cut the ball back, and Blair Spittle's shot was hit well, but straight at the legs of Will Dennis. Still Kilmarnock more likely to score. Kennedy in the left, really dangerous. McGuinness really enjoying a free roll, getting on the ball and creating half chances. And Kelly saved just a couple of minutes before half time from Finlay with his legs as Kelly pressed the second, and the big centre back had his head in his hands. He knew that was a really good chance. A few boos from the Motherwell fans at the whistle, and the questions for Stuart Kettlewell is what can he do to try and get a better start to the second half for his team. They're only 1 down, but they have to get hold of the ball if they're going to create something and get back into this game. Kelly been excellent. Half time at Fir Park, Motherwell 0, Kilmarnock 1.
Half time in the Championship, Partick Thistle against Queen's Park. Michelle Evans.
Yeah, Partick Thistle 2, Queen's Park 1. So it looks like we are on track for another goals fest here at Firhill. At the moment, it is Chris Doolan's Jags who are on top and looking good. Early efforts from Harry Milne and Cairn McInroy tested the Queen's Park keeper Kieran McKenna, who stood tall for both. However, he was beaten in the 26th minute by another McInroy effort. Lawless's cross from the right was swiped at but missed by Brian Graham. It fell to McInroy, who dispatched it past the Queen Park goalie. 4 minutes later it was 2-0 as Jags took complete control. Another Lawless cross, this time fired home by who else but Brian Graham. However, just when it looked like the home side were cruising, Queen's Park went straight up the park within 20 seconds, and Rory Payton beat Jamie Snedden with the Jags' defence all at sea. As Mark Wilson said during your chat there, clean sheets are not one of Jags' biggest specialities at the moment. There's nothing else really to report from the first half, but I reckon we're on for more goals in the second. At half time, however, it is Partick Thistle 2, Queen's Park 1.
And finally to Easter Road to check in with Dave Galloway.
Yeah, Hibs 0, Livingston 1, and the referee's half-time whistle was greeted by a very loud chorus of boos from the Hibs support, and that tells its own story. A pretty sparse crowd here at Easter Road, it has to be said. Livingston started very well, very positively. Obelay's header from a corner was saved after a couple of minutes, and they took a deserved 8th minute lead. Penrice crossed from the left for Pittman to stab the ball home. Hibs did try to hit back. Del Ferrier set up Doidge, whose header skimmed the top of the net, but Livy looked very comfortable with the host's pressure and nearly doubled their advantage when Penrice fizzed in right across the goalmouth. A really inviting one, with Pittman just failing to connect, but Pittman collided with David Marshall, who continues after treatment. Play was also held up briefly after Riley Harbottle took a kick on the head from Curtis Guthrie. It's been a well contested match, keenly contested. Hibs well ahead on possession, more than 60% possession, but doing very little with it, creating very little against a really well drilled Livingston side. Very interesting 45 minutes lies ahead at the interval. Hibs 0, Livingston 1.
The fastest goals, the experts' opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
The half-time scores from the Scottish Premiership: Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0, Hibs 0, Livingston 1 and Motherwell 0, Kilmarnock 1. A full-time result from earlier: Ross County 0, Rangers 2. Into the Championship: Airdrie 2, Inverness 0, Ayr United 0, Dundee United 0, Dunfermline 0, Raith Rovers 1, Morton 0, Arbroath 1 and Partick Thistle 2, Queen's Park 1. In League 1, it's Annan 1, Edinburgh City 2, Cove 0, Queen of the South 2, Hamilton Accies 1, Montrose 0, Stirling Albion 0, Kelty Hearts 0. And in League 2, Elgin 1, East Fife 0, Forfar 0, Bonnyrigg Rose 1, Peterhead 0, the Spartans 0, Stenhousemuir 0, Dumbarton 4 and Stranraer 0, Clyde 0. If the English Premier League is your thing, let me give you a quick update from there as well. Full-time result: Bournemouth 0, Spurs 2. At the break, it's Arsenal 0, Fulham 1, Brentford 1, Palace 0, Everton 0, Wolves 0, Man United 1, Nottingham Forest 2. And the second halves are coming up next.
Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half time in the 3 o'clock games. Celtic Park is interesting, not for the reasons that Celtic fans would like. It is goalless against St Johnstone. David Friel, what sort of reaction greeted the half time whistle? Oh, he's gone again. Or either that, he's away up the road, away down to the pie stall.
That's pretty much a reaction, I think, to the Celtic fans. Silent,
well, he
because
can tell
it's
us.
been underwhelming.
We don't know what for sure the performance has. I'm interested to know what the eyewitness account was like.
You simply, until David gets here, you simply look at the half-time score and think to yourself, for sure the Celtic of last season would not be 0-0 with the bottom team in the league. They have been today ineffectual, insipid, unsatisfactory, and the Champions League draw is being made on Thursday. The notion of this team in the Champions League is terrifying.
Would Brendan Rodgers make any changes, Mark? Is there any obvious ones? Is it just a case of a bit of patience and trying to find that breakthrough? They've obviously got into areas, they've just not really had that final bit.
Well, that's it. I think Yang's looked lively. He's getting into good areas, but just not quite clicking. Then, you look, who would he change? I mean, the guys on the bench are on the bench for a reason. Guys like Haksabanovic, who people think might have a future.
Is Abada on the bench?
Abada's there, but Abada's on the bench again for a reason.
He did score against Aberdeen in the last league game.
Yeah.
Let's try David Friel again. David, can you hear us now? Oh my goodness, what is going on out there? Honestly, what a pain in the backside that is. Anyway, as you were about Liel Abada or whoever.
Listen, I like Liel Abada. I think the numbers that he produces are good over the time he's been at Celtic, but not quite as good as Jota. Of course, James Forrest is there as well. Haksabanovic one, but again, I think Brendan Rodgers will give this time. I think Yang is looking positive. Kyogo, I've seen glimpses of Maeda, not on it today. But I'm disappointed with the midfield three: Gordon, Callum McGregor, O'Reilly, Turnbull. I expect more from them, from an attacking point of view, picking passes. I think it's been slack, so they really need to up the tempo's one thing that I notice. Everything's just slower than it was last season.
Because that's the thing, Gordon. It's not like St Johnstone have done a really good job at being super organised. We'll give them a bit of credit for sure, because ultimately everyone had them lambs to the slaughter, and that's not been the case. But this seems more like a Celtic issue than St Johnstone doing anything brilliant in a defensive sense.
Yeah, and I don't think the Celtic fans would have enjoyed the first 45 minutes. I'm not in the camp that Celtic, because they're at home against the bottom of the league side St Johnstone, are struggling, they should be 3-4 up. Where I am with the people like Hugh saying a better performance, more goals, is the fact that they've not created as
not
much.
Loads, no.
O'Reilly's had a terrific chance that he should really bury, but they've not been at their best this afternoon so far. I don't think Brendan Rodgers will change anything. I think he'll have a few words and hope for a response.
You will hear at 5 o'clock, even if Celtic score in the second half, a narrow victory against St Johnstone will do nothing to placate the Celtic support. And you will hear on this programme from 5 o'clock onwards that the supporters are utterly dismayed.
Yeah, don't doubt that, but the difference is one's like a tangible failure, isn't it? You drop points, you drop points. That's got a real knock-on effect. It's like if you get the win, you almost deal with the performance level in a less severe manner.
Because we are dealing with the game that is a separate life form next weekend, everything will be seen in the context of the match at Ibrox.
Right, Hugh, let's get these second halves up and running. Didn't realise that was the time already.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get your essential medicines and vaccines before you head off on holiday.
Right, and on we go then. Celtic no changes at the break. Harry Payton's come on for Motherwell. Joe Efford's gone off. Spittle pushed up as a second striker. Motherwell need to change something. So that's been the roll of the dice in that one. No changes for Celtic. So what is it, the old give the same players 10 minutes to go and find that breakthrough and then start rolling the dice?
I think it is the case, and sometimes as a coach you're thinking, I'm not going to change it now. It's admitting I probably have got it wrong. It's not what I'm looking for, but I believe that if I have a few words with one or two individuals, ask for a bit more, a bit quicker, a bit more clinical in front of goals, then he's looking for a response. I know what Hugh's saying. I think there will be a lot of Celtic, in fact all Celtic fans, not happy performance in the first 45 minutes. Celtic could come out here and win 3-4-0. They go home happy. That's the most important thing. It's about getting the 3 points. They can't afford anything else.
But Brendan Rodgers could have done with that first half display, no doubt about it. The one thing he wanted, we chatted about it, a quick start, plenty of creativity, plenty of chances, a goal or two, and it's been anything but. So well, I agree with Daz that if they go on and win this 2-3-4-0, great. But I agree with you as well. Celtic fans, I think, will still look at that first 45 and say there's still problems there.
Alistair Johnson bursts down the line, but the cross is poor in the end. Let's get this up and running, Hugh, to give maximum time on it. Are you ready for this one?
I am.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Gary Holt and Ollie Watkins. I've been managed by Derek McInnes and Steve Coppell. I played for 2 Scottish teams in European competitions and have played in an English Championship playoff while ending my career in League 2. So I played alongside Gary Holt and Ollie Watkins, managed by Derek McInnes and Steve Coppell, played for 2 Scottish teams in European competitions and have played in an English Championship playoff while ending my career in League 2. Who am I?
I think that is really, really tough this afternoon. Really tough indeed. But we have to make it that way. It's your fault when you think about it. You're all so good at it. So we had to make it quite tough to try and separate those out there who've got the top tier knowledge. Gordon Dalziel, believe it or not, is actually quite good at the who am I. Even that for you, for you will be tough, I must say. Right, okay. Changing goal for Hibs at the break. They've had to do that in the European game, didn't they?
They're rotating.
David Marshall with a knock in the first half, and it's that famous Scottish football goalkeeping name, Boric, who's come on for Hibs. Half chance. Theo Bayer for Motherwell. He's volleyed a cut back from Payton. Hugh, if there's a few more of these, we will have to agree with you. Matt O'Reilly, chance again. and Alistair Johnson with the provider this time.
When Gordon said, if Celtic win 3 or 4-0 in the second half, the fans will go home happy. There is absolutely no evidence, not a shred of evidence to support any theory that Celtic could score 3 or 4.
No, certainly not yet, that's for sure. Adam Frizzell of Airdrie's been sent off. Remember, they've started well. I think 2-0 up at half time against Inverness, but a second bookable offence in 50 minutes has him heading for the early bath.
Star man against Ross County last week, Adam Frizzell, but Ross County winning 4-3 in the end, and now he's been sent off.
Second half underway at Easter Road. Big 45 for Lee Johnson, isn't it?
Well, huge. I go back to it. If I'm wrong, I'll happily admit I'm wrong. I'm not sure he'll be the Hibs manager next Saturday.
If they lose.
Next Saturday?
If they lose.
Okay. We'll just let it play out. Who knows? Any goals yet in the second half? I don't think so. None down the divisions. There was a change actually at the break in our featured championship match. Tommy Robson on for Cameron Bruce. Only 2-1 down in the end. It looked like that could have got out of hand, but Queen's Park doing well to get themselves back into that one. So a good second half ahead. Hopefully more goals, that's for sure. And as the guys have said, the only game in our featured matches without a goal is that one at Celtic Park. We are though, by the looks of it, Hugh, if you're talking about evidence, going to learn absolutely nothing about Scales and Lager Bielka.
No. The main talking point, as we have another lackadaisical finish from Celtic, the main talking point will be the lack of thrust, the lack of pace, which Mark touched on half time. They simply bear no resemblance to their former selves, and as I said, everything is seen in the context of next weekend's game, and they are well behind Rangers at the moment.
Yeah, Mark, we're not going to see much of Scales and Lager Bielka by the looks of it.
No, I don't think so. As I say, probably more in possession, and Scales just tidying up nicely there, and that's all we're going to be able to judge him on today. The big test will be next week. Just seen that O'Reilly chance there,
huge
back. It was a better chance than his first one, and his first one was an unbelievable chance. He should score, no doubt about it.
He's gone into the book now as well. I get what Mark's saying, Gordon, but it's almost like the territory is so deep in St Johnson's half that Scales and Lager Bielka aren't even really getting the chance to be the ones that build up and walk. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you obviously you do want to start from the back and stride out, and they can join in the attack and it can help, but I've barely seen them because it's so far in the St Johnstone half.
Yeah, Celtic are just dominating the game, there's no doubt about that. As a centre back, if that's the case, you do want to get involved, you want to step forward, you want to link up with Midley Park and get involved in the game. But their job first and foremost up to say, we'll keep the back door shut, we've got a clean sheet here, it's up to you now guys to go and win us the 3 points.
Man United are level.
There you go.
What a tipster.
Man that knows his football.
Casemiro has equalised. Man United 2-0 down.
You go too early sometimes, that's the problem.
Curious Creatures has been on giving you a hard time.
Oh, what have I done
He
now?
says
Curious.
Let me see, can I read this one? Yeah, why not?
Come on.
Nothing wrong with a bit of innuendo on a Saturday afternoon. When Daz went to the parlour to get a new tattoo, he wants to see his full name each time he's at the loo. The artist had a quick look, and soon the boy could see, you can't have your full name, but I can fit a lowercase d. And moving swiftly on. And then Ryan Wilson's piped in to say, I bet he could get Alexei Mikhailichenko on his nose.
You're laughing at.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay.
I love when the listeners have a go at you.
But do you know something? What annoys me? Creatures is sitting listening, right? No very good poet, I've got to say. Wilson, it's all about Wilson, and yet he has a dig at
it's
me.
typical. Haksabanovic and Abada are out warming up. So is James Forrest. So it looks like some sort of change in the wide area. Yang, who to be fair,
I wouldn't take Yang off.
He's been alright. It's just it might be coincidence. It does coincide with him putting a cross into the stand.
Well, I'd have to look at Maeda performance this afternoon. He's playing off the right today, Maeda, and he's quite often off the left, of course. He's been anonymous even when he's got the ball. It's been wasteful. So I think if Yang comes off before Maeda, he'd be hard done by. Maybe it's going to be both. You're certainly not taking Kyogo off when you're needing a goal going into the last half hour.
Maeda's been very quiet, hasn't he?
Oh, without doubt. But even the glimpses we've seen him getting the ball, doesn't he quite look the same player he was last season? It just looks a yard off it.
By all accounts, was one that the Celtic fans were quite excited about based on some pre-season performances.
Yeah.
Well, he played through the middle, didn't he? A lot of the time pre-season, scored some goals, but no, he'd not started the season well for me, Maeda.
Most of them are unrecognisable. The start they've made to the season. Callum McGregor, the heartbeat, the inspiration last season, yet to hit anything remotely approaching his form this season. And so it goes on, and we're getting to 55 minutes into the game now. It's nothing. It's a nothing performance.
Yeah, so far certainly. Stevie May and James Brown, another James Brown in the league, on for Saints. Olafunwa and Jeff Cott go off. So you never know. Gordon Dalziel, if Celtic don't really, it's not like they're battering down the door. Look, the Riley chance is massive. It is. I just wonder if there gets to a stage where Stevie McLean thinks about just, I don't know, trying to really unsettle Celtic at the back.
No, not just now, because he's looking at this game thinking 53 minutes, 55 minutes, nobody would have given us a chance of still being 0-0 here. So I don't think he'll start to get a little bit braver just now. Maybe 10 minutes while May's coming on.
Yeah, that's bravery.
I just said that 5 minutes ago. Thanks for listening.
Hold on.
Right.
But it's how he still adapts to tactics.
He's already on. I told you about it a couple of minutes ago.
On.
So how he
James
adapts,
Brown, remember?
Yeah, how he adapts to tactics to suit. I don't think he'll bring May on for the sake of going, we're going to stick another attacker up there, we're going to be very positive. They're 0-0 at Celtic Park. They would take that and run back up the M9.
No goals to tell you about elsewhere yet either. Martin Boyle's hit the side net from a very tight angle.
Can you imagine if Hibs found themselves bottom of the table by virtue of losing at home to Livingston and because St Johnstone got a point at Celtic Park?
Would be quite something, that's for sure. Greg Taylor's trying his luck 20 yards over the top. So they're all trying, but no one's coming particularly close. Certainly not since that Matt O'Reilly one. Are we going sitter on that, since you're the sitter adjudicator?
Half a sitter, I think.
Oh, great, okay, brilliant. Now making it
be a sitter.
I think me for a sitter is round the goalkeeper, open net, and you miss it. I think that's a sitter.
But that's the extreme, though.
Yeah, but I still think me, for instance,
be degrees of
if the ball comes across and you strike and it's going in the net, and the goalkeeper, should have scored, but not a sitter.
Okay,
that's how I describe
it. A sitter, Gordon. I don't care what Daz says. You cut that up again.
The Hibs fans won't be happy as Nubly bursts through, but Boric blocks. He's on at half time, remember, for David Marshall. And
there's another thing the Celtic fans don't want to see. Kyogo looks as if he hurt himself in a challenge there.
He's okay.
Kyogo's not, how's he supposed to score? Zero service to Kyogo.
Yeah, exactly. What's the teaser looking like, Hugh? Remind me.
I have played alongside Gary Holt and Ollie Watkins. I've been managed by Derek McInnes and Steve Coppell. I played for 2 Scottish teams in European competition, and I have played in an English Championship playoff while ending my career down south in League 2.
Everybody seems to be going for Craig Bryson.
No.
Let me see your piece of paper, Gordon Dalziel.
No, I've not got anything down.
Oh, you were just waving your arms about and looking
I thought I had
all excited. Just show me your name then. Just show me the name anyway. Initials. What am I supposed to do with 2 random
that was
initials?
His first name. That's who I was going to go for.
Craig Bryson.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Abada, Haksabanovic and Ralston coming on. So Ralston one, probably just Alistair Johnson's just back. Maybe, long term out. That makes sense. Rogers is pointing maybe Haksabanovic into a sort of number 10 role, but we'll see. We've got one of these
goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Equaliser for Motherwell, and it is Dan Casey with the goal. Of course, came in towards the end of last season, performed well. Motherwell were delighted to get him back, the big defender, in the summer, but it's at the other end he's had a telling contribution. This afternoon he's pulled Motherwell level, and it's Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 1.
Well, they are good, even the contested game. and good resilience from Motherwell. So anyone could win that one.
You think Hearts couldn't score against them, Rangers couldn't score against them, Celtic couldn't score against them?
Not a problem.
Dan Casey steps up.
Armstrong left a low cross. He didn't see that Spencer was behind him. He cut it back, and Casey drove the ball home. So it wasn't a big header from the centre back. We've got one of these in the Championship.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Lawless to McInroy for the second time this afternoon, and Partick Thistle go 3-1 in front against Queen's Park.
Good response from Thistle after a disappointing trip through to the capital. That was always going to be a difficult game, but that looks like it could be a good 3 points for Chris Dolan.
Johnston, Maeda and Turnbull off, so Haksabanovic sort of in behind Kyogo, if you like.
Well, that'll be interesting to see how that looks, because it's not a position we've seen Haksabanovic in.
I think, have we not once or twice? I feel like we have. In fact, away at St Johnstone? No,
I think he played off the right at that time. I remember having a go at him for the first goal, and I kept saying
he's played it a few times, and I think
I remember that game, Gordon.
He's definitely played it before. That might not be the game
he kept filling the space in the right hand side, and then I think Celtic got a goal for it about 2 minutes later. Maybe has Gordon played in that position. I wonder if he's more suited to that, because I never see Haksabanovic as a off the left hand side player. I know he scored some good goals for there, but just hasn't got the creativity.
Number 10?
Well, that's why I'm saying that it'll be interesting to see him if that's his position.
Might it be more suited if there is a criticism? Is he maybe not that quick in terms of playing
exactly that
out wide?
I think so.
Big goal for Dundee United, one up at Ayr. Kevin Holt with the goal there. So it was one that Jim Goodwin was desperate for, I'm sure, early in this second half.
So an hour gone then at Celtic Park. There's no likelihood of Celtic getting the 3 or 4 that was spoken about earlier on.
I think they'd settle for one now,
yeah,
wouldn't
they would happily settle for a penalty kick.
The teaser, Hugh, remind me of your question if you can.
I have played alongside Gary Holt and Ollie Watkins. I have been managed by Derek McInnes and Steve Coppell. I played for 2 Scottish teams in European competition, and I have played in an English Championship playoff while ending my career down south in League 2.
Well, I wonder if this is too hard today. But there's no such thing. There's no such thing, because you guys always make easy work of this. But it's proving tricky so far by the looks of it. JB says Fletcher.
No.
Which one? But I don't think it's any of them. Gordon, you keep pointing at me. No,
I'm pointing at you for a different reason, Gordon.
It's worrying.
Yeah, what are you pointing at me for?
Just a few important results for us coming in. I'm just throwing them out there.
Another chance, Matt O'Reilly. Kyogo, Haksabanovic, chip to O'Reilly over the bar. This one harder to take, to be fair. Let's not get extreme on this one.
I'm now with you. I think the fans will start to be getting restless at Celtic Park.
It's also, you could look, it's not guaranteed that you're going to find goals, but it's not been that exciting either, has it? Sometimes you could settle and say, well, it's definitely coming, and but it's not really.
We're into the territory now where if it's St Johnstone who score, you've got crisis time in your hands.
Although having said that, if you were bemoaning a lack of evidence that Celtic will score a couple, my goodness, I don't know where a St Johnstone goal will come from. But
even seen
strange things do happen. But
with a ball in his hands,
I don't think so.
But going forward, I mean, I get the Brendan Rodgers style just before he left was this possession based from one full back across the back to the other, patiently building, and it wore teams down. The problem is that was successful. The problem is when you get Ange Postecoglou's style and fans off the seats and everybody entertained by what's going on, even if games were dragging on like this, you always felt there's something coming. You go back to slower build-up play, the fans get uninspired by it and they start to grumble quickly. You don't get the same time that you got maybe previously in a possession-based game. It has to be possession-based, but be some tempo to it. That's my main take for this game. And it's the same players.
Dundee United now 2 up. Louis Moult, scorer of many goals in Scotland over the years, has Dundee United second. And it is going to be a fascinating end to this one for sure. Considine's down injured. He's getting some treatment for St Johnstone. Hugh, you wanted a crowd 3,500 at Firhill. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's good. Excellent crowd, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Crowds are out.
4 for 1, Bonnie Rigrose 2.
That's what I was pointing at.
It's a shock. If ever I've seen one.
You've got 4 for a league, have you not?
I've got 4 for the league. That's why it's such a shock.
Liam Gordon on for Considine. So again, one of the experienced players who seems to have paid the price for.
What age is Andy Considine?
49, I think.
He's a very some amount of games.
He's not one of those like.
I think he'll be a
double
good
check
30,
it for you.
37 he must
37, 38 on his next birthday.
36. Just grinds him out of
Pisces.
VAR check, a clash between Robbie Dees and Harry Payton. Fraser Wishart says it looks like 2 yellows, but it is being checked. And we've got a goal at Easter Road. This could be massive. Which way has it gone?
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
The hosts, and it's that man Martin Boyle. A solo run, a cool finish. They are level. That looks better. Can they kick on and win the thing? A big goal certainly at this stage, Hugh.
Well, Martin Boyle is so important to Hibs, and they should have the impetus now to carry on. They should forget all about Aston Villa. Forget all about Aston Villa. It doesn't matter. No one expected you to beat them. You're going to lose on aggregate by a very heavy score, but so what? The concentration has got to be on getting off the foot of the table, and Lee Johnson has got to show the Hibs fans that he has some kind of vision for a more positive future than has so far been evident.
And that's the thing. We've been, Hugh's doomsday scenario, but Hibs do dig out results when they're looking for one, Mark. So can they go on and do it again today?
Well, the top end of the pitch always gives you a chance, and when you've got Martin Boyle back fit and scoring, then you wouldn't bet against him. But you need to find some solution to a leaky backline.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Goal Livingston. Hibs 1, Livingston 2 at Easter Road. What a game. Dave Galloway is being treated to. Bruce Anderson from close range. Livy are back in front, and the Hibs fans are not happy.
If you're a Hibs fan, you're saying this is an insult to my intelligence. We score a goal, and within seconds of scoring the goal, we're behind again.
Hugh was the exact same. St Mirren 2-0 up, 2 each. They get back in the game. St Mirren got the park score.
You're at your most vulnerable when you've just scored, whatever the sentence goes.
They're so poor. I mean, right and cute. They need to find some sort of solution to their defensive problems. Even the goalkeeper, I know it's unlucky. They keep chopping and changing. I know it's through injury. There's just no continuity in the back line. You even look at the selections today, it's different players, same mistakes.
Mark, I've studied Hibs since the start of the season, right?
You studied their crowd.
No. And I'll guarantee you go and watch their games since the start of the season. You go down the wide areas against the full back areas, you're scoring against Hibs.
James Forrest on for Yang. Most of the rolls of the dice have been completed by Brendan Rodgers. Are any of them going to work?
No, not for me. I think all of this is consistent with a team who have lost their way, and Brendan Rodgers is just throwing players on the park in the hope that something might happen.
You going for a 0-0, Hugh?
From this distance, I'd be surprised if Celtic scored.
I don't know if he's throwing them on. James Forrest's on the bench here for a reason, to come on and affect it in a wide area. Yang, I think, has been okay, one of the better performers, but it's now we chatted about the contribution at James Forrest's testimonial, what he might have this season, why he's been kept about, why Brendan Rodgers likes him. Probably games like this, come on, make an impact, get us out of hole. So he's got about 20 odd minutes to do it. Remains to be seen if he can, but
remember he scored 4 in one game against St Johnstone.
Right,
but that was away from home, is it not?
Yeah, it was away from
yeah,
home.
yeah.
I just don't want to be unfair to James Forrest, try and not make it so much about him, because he's been an unbelievable servant for Celtic. He really has. Player of the year, great for Scotland in spells as well. But just in amongst all the talk about this, the squad being weaker than last season, it wasn't too often that Ange Postecoglou had to turn to James Forrest. There were more players ahead of him in the queue who were producing.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I would suggest if was there, and listen, if Hatate had played today and you've got Turnbull sitting on the bench, I guess you've got better options that way. So injuries have played a part, but obviously the standout is Jota. Jota was the main man. You would have Maeda at the other side, you'd have Abada to come on, you'd have others to affect it before James even got a look in. So
Luis Palma meant to arrive by all accounts.
£3 million, run about that. Again, remains to be seen what he is like. Is he an instant impact player, or does he want to be developed? We won't know until we actually see him on the pitch.
Haksabanovic shot turned wide by Mitov, who, by the way, I know St Johnstone have been miserable this season, but he looks a really good signing, the goalkeeper. He's been solid again today. He's now down claiming an injury, so I can imagine and he may well have a genuine injury, but you can imagine how that will go down.
Well, that's the least of the Celtic supporters' worries. If the goalkeeper's allegedly feigning injury and time wasting, the time will be added on. Undoubtedly it will be added on. The main worry the Celtic supporters have is that players come, players go, substitutions are made, and nothing continues to happen.
It will be, and this is the thing, this is when you know which area it's all about today. It's about that attacking threat, Gordon, because Celtic have had loads of convincing days over the last couple of years, way more convincing than this, and yet this could be the quietest Joe Hart's ever had. I genuinely haven't heard a single thing. But that's not the point. That's not exactly going to keep Celtic fans warm tonight. It's about what they've not done in the attacking sense.
It's not been exciting, I've got to say. It's not been bums out of seat, chance after chance. Yes, O'Reilly probably guilty of a couple of chances he, and another day would put in the back of the net. But apart from that, even the style of football's been poor this afternoon from Celtic.
Arsenal have turned it around. They're 2-1 up against Fulham. Still waiting on your Man United turning it round, though, Gordon. They're
still plenty of time.
They're level. What else have we got here for you? No, nothing at the moment, it has to be said. Slowly getting some correct answers on that teaser. The who am I? What a question it is. This is top. You need top knowledge to get this one. You got anything for me?
I've had two guesses. I've got one left.
There we are. For the first time this afternoon. This is usually it's you that does this, Hugh Keevins.
Yeah.
Almost a St Johnstone goal at Celtic Park. We said, and it was right at the time, the quietest 70 minutes, but a Costello run and a volley saved, poor perhaps from Liam Scales. It doesn't deal with the danger, and let that be a lesson to Celtic.
Alright, I'm going, mate. Here we go.
Well, the Celtic fans by now will be something close to apoplectic, and I said that a St Johnstone goal would start crisis time, and I mean it. I don't think I'm being over excitable there. I think if Celtic were to lose to St Johnstone today, the week after going out of the Viaplay Cup, it would be crisis time.
It doesn't come to anything on this occasion but the first warning sign that we've seen, certainly first even close to a warning sign, and we are still goalless there. It's the only game, and I bet none of you predicted that, because Motherwell and Killie are level at 1-1. Hibs 1, Livingston 2. I look forward to hearing from Lee Johnson after that if it stays that way. Of course, Partick Thistle 3-1 up against Queen's Park in our featured championship game as well. Sometimes this happens when it tips the other way. David Friel says the crowd are actually getting behind Celtic. It's all very positive just now, because it's almost like they know they're needed. I know what you're going to say. That won't last very long if it doesn't go to plan, but that's what's happening at the moment, according to David, who's actually there. And Bernabe is getting ready as well, so just changing lots.
Well, I go back to what I said.
Oh, they're angry now because there's a poor Matt O'Reilly cross.
He's just throwing players. It's hit rather than hope.
I mean, that's just what you do, isn't it? You can make 5 subs now, so you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, surely, in that regard.
Oh, you've got to make the substitutions. That's what managers are there for, to see that the game's not gone right, not gone well, and to utilise the squad. Just on that Scales incident, you're firmly at fault.
Right, the goalie's down, claiming injury again for St Johnstone. Penalty, Motherwell for an Armstrong tackle on Payton, but of course VAR checking, so you need to wait and see. Nothing is confirmed. What about the joy and then taken away at Tynecastle the other night? Lauren Shankland.
That's the only thing.
I felt gutted.
Yeah.
So I wonder how Hearts felt. Hearts fans felt at that point.
See, no matter if I was playing today, scoring goals and then having to stand there and think,
I know,
do I celebrate? Do I don't celebrate? Oh, it's a sickener. I watched that and I felt really sorry for a lad. It was a terrific finish, I've got to say.
Oh, what a finish.
Brilliant
it was.
finish, but unfortunately it was ruled off.
Yeah, Kyogo's making the point, I think, about the time wasting. He's complaining to the referee. David Friel thinks he's in for the long haul because it could be a lot of added time at that one. We had nothing really at the end of the first half. Even in Dingwall earlier, no real VAR drama. Things got done and dusted quite quickly, and maybe not the same here, depending on what the referee does. Still waiting on confirmation of that Motherwell penalty. Needs to be awarded first, and then you would look to who steps up in the absence of the penalty king from last season, Kevin Van Veen. Maybe a Blair Spittle or someone.
Who does take the penalties now?
Someone of that ilk perhaps, but again, it's not been confirmed yet whether it's given. So, and the length of time that's been taken suggests maybe a bit of an element of doubt.
See, in my mind right now, I would let the lad Bear take it. Is he still on? Is he off?
Penalty given Slattery to take.
Slattery.
Keep telling you, Slattery will get you everywhere.
Well,
nice, Hugh, nice.
He certainly has,
like that.
on his day, has a good sort of set piece
I'm going
delivery.
to write down his name.
And so on. Callum Slattery, we will find
His
out.
name,
Gordon
by the
Dalziel, Gordon Dalziel, Man United, 3-2 up.
Oh!
You know your stuff. I mean, you've got Celtic to win about 4-0 here. So.
No, I didn't. I just said I win.
Have you ever seen the goalie take cramp when he's not had
He
much
didn't.
to do?
He went over on his ankle.
Well,
He went over on his ankle. I watched it. Watch
really?
this. Watch his ankle.
Oh, see when
Watch
the-
his ankle. Watch his ankle.
But no,
Watch. There.
See
There.
when the defender's stretching his leg.
No,
that suggests cramp.
Went over on
And
his
he's-
ankle.
he's telling
Watch
the-
his ankle, man.
He's Slattery's penalty saved for
Look.
Motherwell.
Oh, you didn't look confident, Gordon.
I told you, I made a wee hand gesture in the studio.
did
I didn't
not
want, I
look
didn't want, I
confident.
didn't want to be unfair to them on radio, but I did. I made a wee hand gesture to you before. I wasn't confident, and that's a big moment, that, Hugh, for both Motherwell and Kelly. Dennis diving low to his left.
A real sickener for Motherwell. This Kilmarnock side have received so much praise, and to equalise and then get a penalty to put them behind, and so late in the game. You go back to the loss of Van Veen and the subsequent loss of Beereth. You really need a guy out on the park who's just a natural when the goal is like that.
Yeah, big blow. Great opportunity, bounce back from last week's disappointment, defeat at St Mirren, but still a bit to play in that. Might get a winner.
Barry Bannon still going strong down there at Sheffield Wednesday. He's equalised for them against Cardiff. I did say I'll always mention, if we can, Scots that are doing things down the road as well, although we've got enough on our plate in terms of drama and excitement. And of course there's not any real excitement at Celtic Park, but that in itself leads to drama, I suspect, on the phones if this doesn't change. We have seen Celtic in the last few seasons dig out many late goals when they've needed it most. Does this current team have that in its locker? We will find out in the next, I was going to say 12 minutes or so, but my goodness, it could be a lot longer than that.
There's a piece of the jigsaw just now, and it's early, missing with Celtic for me. I watched them the last couple of games, even against Ross County. Ross County come to Celtic Park, scored 2 goals, probably could have scored another, but there's just something that's missing just now.
Well,
it's goals.
More than one thing.
Listen, I tell you what's evident when you're changing to the fullbacks when you're really needing something. I think that gives you a glimpse of.
Well, the Johnson one's differently just because of the injury.
Yeah, I'll granted that. Yeah.
Goal at Easter Road.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And it's a goal for Livingston. Hibs 1, Livingston 3. It's a sensational strike from Sangari, and the Hibs fans might well be gone, heading for the exits. What an afternoon that has been at Easter Road, and Livy lead by 3-1. Forest's Cross, Kyogo wide of the target.
That's a stunning result for Livy. You know, we're all, you know, got our minds on Hibs and saying about Lee Johnson, but David Martindale once again going up against all the odds, away to Easter Road, and coming away with a result like that.
Chance of Johnson, please politely take your leave, coming out of the Easter Road stands.
I have been consistent all afternoon. From the very outset I said if Hibs lose that game, he's a goner.
You did too. Yep.
Well, as it stands, they're bottom of the league. They're bottom of the league, and it's not a good start.
And within the game as well, I mean, even the way that's panned out, hasn't it? Get yourself level, but Livy are the one that strike again, and then when it should be Hibs able to throw the kitchen sink, and even a draw which wouldn't satisfy many people, it's Livy that go and score again.
12 goals conceded in 4 games, 3 of them at home, 3 against Livy, 3 against St Mirren, 5 against Villa. It doesn't matter how good the team is, it does not look good when it starts getting stacked up like that.
I think you could stick a pair of copas on me right now and I'd bang 2 against them.
Don't be silly. Loud grumbles now at Celtic Park after a move breaks down, so the Celtic fans and the Hibs fans are having a grumble off to see who's most dissatisfied in their own way.
Well warranted though. When you're watching a Celtic performance, if you're a Celtic fan, it's hard not to grumble, because even the players in the final third, you know, aren't going by people like they did last season. Everything seems like it's a real effort, a real grind.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hopefully we're going to strap ourselves in for some late drama. I just wanted to flag something up. I had a nice message in about an important little charity do that's taking place over the weekend, and I said I would give it a mention. So tomorrow, the Greenock Horseshoe Bar team, formidable opponents, taking on the Ewan's Cause team in an annual charity match, aiming to raise a lot of money to take the total well up to £120,000, and it is for that charity Ewan's Cause. If you want to go and check them out, you can do. There's a website there as well. It's actually a real sad story, and it's a real personal one as well. A charity for Ewan Clark, who sadly lost his battle in 2012 with a fairly complex situation there, and of course the charity set up thereafter. He was only 18 months of age, Ewan, waiting on a heart transplant. So all the funds going to Glasgow Children's Hospital, who provided the treatment, and hoping to try and make sure situations like that don't occur again. So tomorrow is the big day. The Ewan's Cause team taking on Greenock Horseshoe Bar, hoping to raise a lot of money, and we wish everyone well that takes part in that one. And you can check out the website ewanscause.co.uk if you want to donate whatever you can. There's a Just Giving button on there as well. In terms of today's football, what we got coming in, Calvin Bassey, remember him? Sent off for Fulham. Where are we? 83 minutes gone, so he's not lasted to the end of that one. Dumbarton down to 10. Stevie May clean through on goal, and Joe Hart saves. And if the Celtic fans were grumbling before, big chance that St Johnstone, maybe bigger than anything Celtic have created.
Well, as bad as it is, and we'll always concentrate on Celtic, Joe Hart is getting such a hard time at the start of the season, but if it remains a 0 on the scoreline for St Johnstone, he's had 2 big moments in this game. He's magnificent save from the first effort from St Johnstone, and then he's pulled his team out of hole there. I mean, that's what goalies are there for.
This still, it's a good save. It's not, I think, it's on a bit of an angle. It's still a good save, and probably in the just in the middle of probably one he should make, but you still need to be there to do it.
Do you know, I just football's very quick and turning. I was just standing there thinking of Hugh talking last Saturday about Michael Beale. He's got PSV, he's then got a tricky one to County, and then he's got Celtic coming. All of a sudden that's turned its head, because if this result stays the same and the performance, Rangers have had a good result against PSV, cruise through today, don't know what happens midweek, but then Celtic go to Rangers.
Let's round off that teaser, Hugh, to leave room for any late drama that we may or may not get.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Gary Holt and Ollie Watkins. I have been managed by Derek McInnes and Steve Coppell. I played for 2 Scottish teams in European competition, and I've played in an English Championship playoff while ending my career in League 2. Who am I? I am the man standing beside Lee Johnson at Easter Road saying, what do you think? Should we start the car? I am Jamie McAllister, the assistant manager.
Never got that.
Really tough. But do you know what? Honestly, our listeners,
somebody got that?
More than one. Sean McHugh in 3rd place, Mikey in 2nd place, and Chris 1987 the winner. Outstanding knowledge out there. Well done to you all. We really tried to make it tough for you. You've come up trumps again. Outstanding. You were nowhere near that one, were you?
No absolutely
chance.
Not.
Good, that's what I like to hear. Good, yeah. Put you in your place. James Forrest with a header over the bar, didn't quite connect with it properly, I think, by the looks of things. Maybe just kind of mistimed it. Anthony Ralston's cross 8 yards out, and it certainly has that look about it.
By the way, we were chatting about Scales and Lager Bielka not being tested and not getting a real gauge for them today. Well, the first St Johnstone chance, Scales badly at fault, all over the place. The second St Johnstone chance, I don't think Lager Bielka covered himself in glory in terms of recovery. Yeah, Stevie May is not a quick player anymore, but Lager Bielka could not make up the ground to get back to him, and that's what's so crucial when you're a centre back in this day and age. You need to have pace. You're recruited for your defensive ability and pace.
Try to think if it was something that you said earlier, or something that just generally comes up as well. Maybe that concentration factor as well. At the point when we said they did nothing to do, it was accurate, and it was a long time. You then called into action. You need to make sure that you are switched on.
You need to be, because you stand there all day and think this is easy, but you can quite clearly see how that can just switch. Sometimes difficult when you're at the back of Celtic when you've got not much to do. So they have been tested now. I've got to say the twice that they've been tested, not great.
Stirling Albion scored what looks like a late winner against Kelty. Josh Cooper on 88 minutes. So Arsenal had gone 2-1 up on Fulham, and Bassey had been sent off, and now Fulham are level 2-2 in that one.
See, you spend hundreds of millions, Hugh, like Arsenal, and doesn't guarantee you success, does it?
I always think you get these occasions, when you don't pay too much attention. Two teams that you kind of forget are in the same league. Leicester, when they won the English Premier League, it just feels like yesterday, and now playing Rotherham away today. That happens when they suddenly kind of meet. Somebody's on the up and somebody else on the down.
There are many at the club that won the league who's still there, because they must be thinking, I remember the parade, was it Kasabian, was they playing and stuff like that?
Andrea Bocelli singing.
And now they're playing Rotherham. How the mighty fall.
If you're looking for a crisis club down there, maybe Everton are this season 1-0 down now at home to Wolves. Just a couple of minutes to go.
I was rubbing shoulders with Sean Dyche at the Formula 1. He was in the same.
Seriously?
That was exactly him. Right beside us.
When was this? You never told us this.
I was at the Grand Prix Silverstone over the summer, just part of the summer activities.
You were rubbing shoulders.
Well,
with
I was
Sean
lucky
Dyche.
enough to be in the VIP area.
This guy gets about, doesn't he?
I turned round, and by the way, I turned round, I heard a woman that was in my company had spilled a drink. An older lady, and I turned round, who was it? Sean Dyche had just bumped in there, spilled her drink, and he went, "I'll get you," in that voice, "I'll get you another one, love." It was all a free bar. The next one's on me.
This boy gets about.
He does, eh? He's classy.
I'm a big Formula 1 fan.
Everybody.
Damien Hill.
Nah, is he still getting a bit?
Damien.
What's his name?
Damien.
Damien's the devil child at the film.
I think you'll look a bit like Damien Hill when you're older.
Who? Damien Hill?
I can see it. Yeah.
Well,
I don't think that's a compliment.
No, I can see it.
I'll dye my hair. Is it grey now, isn't it? He's got.
Yeah.
Damien Hill.
Well, I'm not really into that sort of thing.
I'll get you into it. We'll go next year. Want to go? That's kind of what it's like.
I really enjoy it.
See at the end, I didn't realise. See at the end, they opened up the track, so hundreds of thousands of people pour onto the track. Know what they were doing? They're stealing the advertising boards. People were trying to get out with the big Pirelli signs and that, walking it. Aye. And they were getting stopped. People collect the rubber, see off the tyres as well.
I know that is
wrongins.
The nearest
I was standing at the free bar just watching them, thinking
the nearest I've been to Formula 1 is not kill. I've driven round there a few times.
Yeah, it's not that close though, is it?
Yeah.
Right, well, 1 minute plus what's added on at Celtic Park, which probably will be quite a bit, but still, it's got that could play all night feel about it. Celtic do sometimes throw that back in your face. So we will see Lager Bielka try to pick out Kyogo, but the header was too heavy. We're down, we're pretty much at the 90 now, just waiting to see what the ref adds.
The Celtic fans haven't seen football like this since Ronnie Dyler was the manager, and you know they've gorged themselves on trophies, many of them won by Brendan Rodgers. They've had the 2 years of falling in love with Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, I do wonder, and the Celtic fans would know more. I do want. You cannot make this has been dreadful, there's no doubt about that, but in terms of that sweeping statement, I do wonder if you remember the start of the Ange Postecoglou era, for instance, was there not a couple of games like, did they not draw at home to, was it like Livingston or something like that? And
but you're now
I think Giacomakis missed a penalty, did he? Was that day?
Sort of thing.
But you're now talking about a cup defeat followed by what will feel to the Celtic fans like a league defeat.
I was debating the generalisation about Ronnie Dyler. Anyway, we've got one of these
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Maybe for Hibs. They've pulled one back. They have pulled one back. It is Josh Campbell, close range after a cross into the box. So they've pulled it back there, and will they manage to somehow dig it out from here? 8 added at Celtic, 8 minutes.
And that's plenty time.
Not based on what we've seen, but you never know. And 7 minutes added at Fir Park. So strap yourselves in, we're nowhere near finished.
8 minutes is an eternity.
Are we getting a goal at either? That's all I'm asking you. That's all I'll go for. Gordon Dale. 2 games.
We've got a better chance at Fir Park than we have at Celtic.
Are we getting
Park?
one in either game?
No.
I'll say aye, just
in the middle.
Yes.
He doesn't even need to pick which one. VAR check on that Hibs goal, but it does stand. So there we go. No added time yet, have we, from Hibs? Because you never know. Maybe they'll be the ones that provide the late drama. In fact, we're a bit behind actually at Easter Road. There's a good bit of mileage left in that. One of the results of the day has to be Morton 0, Arbroath 3. Great result for Dick Campbell's side. Annan 3, Edinburgh City 2. That's been a real thriller, that one. Maybe Annan have nicked it through Tommy Goss. Full-time whistles starting to go. It shows you the difference, doesn't it? Down the leagues, games are finished, and yet here we're talking 7-8 minutes.
Players are on the team bus going away from the stadiums as we speak.
Kevin Holt's got a double for Dundee United. They have surely won it 3-0.
Good result that
at Somerset.
Great result. But it shows you how weird football is. Morton, Arbroath, the way that they've started the season. Morton last week took all the plaudits. That'll give them great confidence going into the league, and then they're walloped 3. Incredible.
I think what will frustrate, well, not a lot will frustrate the Celtic fans, Gordon. There is no good way of doing this type of result and performance, but St Johnstone now looking comfortable. That would be the thing. This doesn't have that kitchen sink feel where you're dreading it. You know, Mark's been there as an opposition player. You'll have been there where you think, oh, this is the longest 8 minutes ever. It just hasn't yet got that feel about it.
When you watch these type of games in the past, you always had the feeling that Celtic were going to break you down. That lack of concentration, they were going to punish you. That sharp movement from the Celtic front line or middle of the park, it's nowhere near that feeling. It's all pedestrian for me. It's slow build up. It gives St Johnstone all the time in the world to get back organised, and they're dealing with it very comfortably.
Yeah, and that's
a hard watch.
That's a condemnation. That is a condemnation of Celtic's performance.
Kind of looked almost less likely as the game's gone on. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, you go back over what's happened so far. Ross County scored twice at Celtic Park. We had a caller on here that night saying Celtic's performance was shocking, and we had a bit of a laugh at them because Celtic scored 4 times, but it was indicative of what was to come. They went to Aberdeen, and 3-1 at Pittodrie is a good result. There were elements of that game that were not great. Out of the cup to Kilmarnock, nothing in that game for Celtic, nothing. And today another nothing performance. Now, this programme is the forum for the fans. This programme is the barometer. We take the temperature here, and you'll know at 5 o'clock. I wouldn't be surprised if the first call was to call for Brendan Rodgers to be sacked.
Jeez.
Listen, I'm just explaining to you.
Every manager in Scotland.
No, I'm not saying that should happen. Of course I'm not. I'm just telling you that's the way people feel. We had calls for the last 2 nights to have Alfredo Morelos brought back to Ibrox. This is the way that people feel.
Albada shot saved, but it's weak, and that maybe sums up. That'd be one of the ones to sum up Celtic's attack today, Gordon, you would have to say.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Celtic have completely run out of ideas. If they get a late goal, it'll be probably a lucky one. They've run. I look at, for instance, as much as it's been, I look at Callum McGregor. I mean, magnificent footballer. In the last couple of games, he's offered absolutely nothing for me. You know, Callum McGregor's a standout week in, week out. I don't know what it is. They don't look like they've got that sharpness. I think the build-up's too play for them. Look, as time goes on, Brendan Rodgers will bring in more players, quality players. It may just click into place. But it's a hard watch for Celtic. Now, what Hugh's saying is, okay, everybody knows that Brendan Rodgers never going to get... But he's correct that people out there will probably phone in and give Celtic manager an absolutely paste.
Hibs are pressing now for the equaliser. That would be quite something. 3-1 down with a few
Get
minutes
the lines
to go.
on.
Never do that again, please. That was worrying to say the least.
Oh, get the lines on.
Did he not make a reference to a Formula 1 car? Was that not the thing this week?
Oh, well, that's right up your street then, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I'm sure he says if you drive your car in to the training ground and I then take you and put you in a Formula 1 car, you're going to see a difference in reference to...
I like that. I think it's easy, to be critical. Well, Aston Villa drive a Formula 1 car.
Right. You drive the old Passat. Him's on the Passat.
Our Passat were 0 to 60 in 3 seconds at a lights.
3 minutes.
He's God's gift to the journalistic profession.
Absolutely.
To the Hibs fans, he's David Brent.
I do like David Brent now. Oh, that sense of goal coming.
With M&D Green Pharmacy.
Goal Motherwell. Don't know what gave it away, and it's Harry Payton on at the break. And has he won it for the Steelmen? It certainly looks likely. They missed their penalty, and now right at the death there was 7 minutes added on. 52 minutes have been played in this second half, and he scored from a cutback from Blair Spittle. There will be the usual nervousness to see if anyone can spot an issue with it, I'm sure, but nevertheless Motherwell look to have snatched it.
Well, good for them. But what a blow for Derek McInnes. You know, he has basked in the glory of the cup defeat of Celtic, and people have rightly paid tribute to him for the players he's brought in, for the way his team play football. But today, reality strikes.
We go joint top. We're going to win the league.
Home form for Motherwell. You get that right, you've got a chance of being in that top 6.
98th minute of the game.
Yeah, I was right. I was right. There would be a goal.
You were
in one of the games.
Full
I didn't specify who.
Fraser Wishart, what a finish.
Wow, what a finish. There was 52 minutes on the clock, 7 minutes of stoppage time, and Harry Payton, half-time substitute, made a difference in the second half for Motherwell. He scored the winning goal just as it looked as if it was going to be a deserved point apiece, and it's amazing how games can change. Kelly excellent in the first half, totally dominated, one up through a Marley Watkins header, could have scored more, but he couldn't keep it going, and Motherwell hardly in the game in the first half, found a way back, equalised to Dan Casey. Slattery missed a penalty, and then came that goal from Harry Payton with virtually the last kick of the ball to give them all 3 points. Kelly, as I said, dominated the first half, but only that one goal ahead through a 12th minute Marley Watkins goal, striker heading, and Armstrong crossing to net at the back post. He could have scored more of a sell, had a free header, he should have done better, but flicked the ball wide from 8 yards. Kelly and safe from Finlay with his legs. Motherwell really threatened, and it was Spittle shot that hit Dennis in the legs, their only chance. And Stuart Kettle made a change at half time. He brought on Harry Payton for Joe Efford, pushed Spittle further forward, and that was the change in the game. Much better second half from Motherwell. Theo Bayer had a half chance, he volleyed a Payton cut back just over, and then equaliser came in the 59th minute, probably against the run of play because Kelly was still in the game. Spittle with a lovely flick into the box. Slattery low cross across the 6 yard box. Dan Armstrong, the wing back, in the back post. He let the ball go, thinking there was nobody behind him, but he didn't see Brodie Spencer, the fullback, who cut it back. Keith did really well, took a touch, gave himself a bit of space and fired home into the back of the net. Probably the danger of hanging a winger as a wing back, because Lennon Miller then had Dennis scrambling to save from 20 yards as Motherwell for the first time dominated the game. Spencer came close, the looping header, then Motherwell had the ideal chance to take the lead. Armstrong again involved in a defensive area, tackling Harry Payton just inside the box. Referee Chris Graham gave the penalty, a long VAR check. I'm not sure if that affected Slattery. He had the ball in his hands at the spot for a long time, but his penalty was weak. He side-footed it to Dennis's left, and it was pushed away by the goalkeeper. Now just a couple of minutes to go. Kelly, hardly been near Kelly's goal for quite some time, had a great chance to win at 88 minutes. Kennedy played in Vaselli, was in space. His first touch wasn't great, but he still had a good chance. He blazed over with his left foot from 10 yards, and then came that unbelievable goal on 52 minutes. A break down the left. Spencer played in Spittle. He skipped by Mayo really well. Low cutback. Payton took a touch, and as he looked as if he was going to shoot, and two defenders dived in, he switched onto his left foot and scored with a low finish. Motherwell fans absolutely delighted. They weren't delighted at half time, but they are delighted at full time as their team's unbeaten league run continues. Full time at Fir Park, Motherwell 1, Motherwell 2, Kilmarnock 1.
It's finished at Celtic Park. David Friel.
Full time, Gordon. Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0. If you came to me 30 seconds ago, you'd have heard loud boos. The Celtic fans aren't happy. A shock result here, and the blows just keep coming for Brendan Rodgers and Celtic. Fresh from last week's cup defeat at Kilmarnock, the champions have dropped points to bottom club St Johnstone. Saints had lost 9 successive games coming into this to Celtic. They were in terrible form, but they left Glasgow with a point, and if it wasn't for 2 late Joe Hart saves, they could have taken all 3. Celtic fans, they arrived here wanting a performance and the result. By the end, they would have taken anything. The team dominated from start to finish. They created chances, but let's be honest, they lacked a real spark. The stats will say Celtic had 19 goal attempts in 18 corners, but overall this was another flat display. Brendan Rodgers now has a lot to ponder ahead of next week's visit to Rangers, who are just a point behind Celtic now. Hugo, the first chance for Celtic, fired an effort wide in 12 minutes, but Mattarelli was the main threat in both halves. He had 2 good chances in the first half. David Turnbull picked him out for the first one, but Dimitar Mitov saved his volley. Then Callum McGregor's low cross found O'Reilly, but again he fired straight at Mitov. Yang and Turnbull had efforts, but O'Reilly then had another great chance early in the second half. Alistair Johnson played 60 minutes and his return did okay. He picked out O'Reilly, but his close range shot was saved. Celtic kept probing the throw inside Haksabanovic, James Forrest, Leo Labad in a bid to spark things. Brendan Rodgers moved his side about. Haksabanovic, he looked bright. He had a shot saved from the edge of the box by Mitov, but the Bulgarian wasn't really being overworked. Kyogo fired wide from a James Forrest cross. Forrest then headed over from 8 yards, should have probably done better, but that came after St Johnstone missed 2 great chances. Dara Castella worked so hard on his St Johnstone debut. He left Liam Scales for dead and forced Joe Hart into a really good save from close range. Then Stevie May, the veteran, on as a sub, he left Gustav Lagerbielke for dead, and once again Hart had to bail Celtic out with a big save. Celtic get 8 minutes of extra time to try and find the winner, but let's be honest, they'd ran out of ideas by then and they departed the pitch to boos. A lot to ponder for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers. Stephen McLean, the happiest man inside Parkhead. Full time, Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0.
Celtic fans, how do you feel about that? 01419511025. Call us right now. It's also finished at Easter Road. Dave Galloway.
Hibs 2, Livingston 3. Livingston started well and they took a deserved 8th minute lead. James Penrice crossed for Scott Pittman to stab the ball home. Hibs tried to hit back. Alan Del Ferrier set up Christian Deutsch, whose header skimmed the top of the net, but Livy looked pretty comfortable with the host's pressure and nearly doubled their advantage when Penrice fizzed in a cross right across the face of goal, with Pittman just failing to connect. But he collided with David Marshall, who continued after treatment. In the first half, Hibs well ahead on possession, but doing very little against a well-drilled Livingston side. David Marshall failed to appear for the second half after that aforementioned knock, with Max Boric replacing him in goal, and he soon had to block an effort from Joel Newbley, who'd burst through. Hibs drew level with a superb solo goal from Martin Boyle on 61 minutes, a fabulous burst of speed and a really fine finish. But just 2 minutes later, Livingston were back in front. James Penrice again with the great crossing, and Bruce Anderson this time nodded in from very close range. Cue chants from the Hibs fans telling Lee Johnson in no uncertain terms where to get to. And yet more dreadful defending saw Livy go 3-1 ahead in 75 minutes. Joel Newbley fed Mo Sangari, and he thundered a sensational strike into the net from distance. Josh Campbell scrambled in from about 6 yards following a corner after 86 minutes to reduce the deficit. Plenty late pressure from the home side, but Livy held firm to the delight of their small band of fans, but they were very much in the minority. The home fans here furious with what they've seen from their side. It's been some afternoon here at Easter Road. Hibs 2, Livingston 3.
And into the Championship, finished Partick Thistle, Queen's Park. Michelle Evans.
Yep, it's finished here. Partick Thistle 3, Queen's Park 1. So it's Firhill for thrills after another goal-laden encounter between these two sides, this time with Chris Doolan's side taking all 3 points. Trailing 2-1 at the break, Queen's Park started on the front foot with Jack Thompson testing Jamie Snedden just 2 minutes in after some nice play for the visitors, and they continued to press with Dom Thomas shooting wide just after a great run through the middle from Jack Thompson broke down before he could test the Jags defence fully. However, it was Chris Doolan's side who found the back of the net to increase their lead. Lawless and McEnroy teaming up again, with the Killie Lone Star lifting the ball over McKenna just before the hour mark. Queen's Park, however, were far from dead on their feet and piled the pressure on their host, but the best effort that they could really offer was a long range shot from Dom Thomas, which was taken comfortably by Snedden. There were no further goals, and in the end it was the double from Kerr McEnroy and one from Brian Graham that was enough to see all 3 points stay here at Firhill and help them climb up the table. Positives for both sides. McEnroy, who got man of the match quite fittingly. The performance between him and Lawless was absolutely fantastic, and for Queen's Park, who obviously lost today, their first defeat of the league season so far. However, Dom Thomas, their captain, was looking on really good form and probably provided their best threats in the match. However, it has finished here. Partick Thistle 3, Queen's Park 1.
Incredible day all round, particularly Celtic Park, held at home by St Johnstone. What did you make of it? 01419511025.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lucas Jaguar. Here, wherever and whenever you need them. Visit them in store or online.
Looking to get car or van insurance double quick? To mustard.co.uk. With top insurance providers, a 5-minute pit stop with us could get you out in front in the race to savings. Car or van, work or play. Compare insurance with mustard.co.uk. T's and C's apply. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lucas Jaguar. Here, wherever and whenever you need them. Visit them in store or online. After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon Dalziel are here, and it's 01419511025 for you to join in. There is no question about where we're going to start this afternoon, this evening I should say, because it is not often Celtic drop points at home to St Johnstone, and that has happened hot on the heels of going out of the League Cup as well. Hugh Keevins.
The Celtic fans will be outraged by what is taking place. You can lose defenders to injury, and that is desperately hard luck on the manager, but you cannot play football the way that Celtic have done today and last weekend while going out of the Cup and not get a deserved hard time from the fans. It's inexplicable. Players who were magnificent under Ange Postecoglou are now a shadow of themselves, a pale imitation, from the captain Callum McGregor to the top goal scorer Kyogo Furuhashi. They are awful.
Mark is a Celtic fan who's going to kick things off. Sum up how you're feeling about your team at the moment, Mark.
Hi Gordon and Panel, how are we doing?
Good, thanks.
I'm absolutely shocked sitting here now, mate. Let me tell you, that's how I feel about that Celtic team. That's a team that's went back tenfold, Gordon, the last season. I'm going to mention a couple of football players here to you who are not up to the job at Celtic, and I'm going to start with David Turnbull, Anthony Ralston, the left back Taylor, Scales, James Forrest, Magoya Abada, O'Reilly and Maeda. I can't believe how bad they were today and in the last couple of games. It's just absolutely on its knees.
Does any of this reflect on the manager, Mark? I'm sure it's maybe a combination, and you may be right in some of the players that you mentioned, but the obvious thing that's changed this summer is the change of manager, isn't it?
Oh, it's I don't know, but these guys are, as I said, they're not good enough for Celtic, Gordon. They're really. If you say that earlier on, I heard them saying that going into the Champions League that's a frightening prospect coming up in the next few weeks. But I don't know, the manager, I don't know. We brought him back. We've got to support him. But I'm sorry, all the players, especially the one today is the right winger. I don't know how he gets a game for Celtic, the lad Maeda. That is just non-existent football player. It's great. Is that how you get a game now for Celtic? You'll be able to track back with a bit of speed, because after that, he's not getting any quality, that one.
But Maeda is symptomatic of what's going on. Maeda was terrific under Ange Postecoglou.
Has always had these moments though, hasn't he, when you're looking for like a bit of quality.
But you would rather under Postecoglou have had Maeda in the team than out. So you have to come back to the managerial change. I don't know whether these players are taken aback by the loss of Postecoglou, or it's too radical a transformation of ideas between Postecoglou and Brendan Rodgers. But whatever is the case, they have now lost a cup from last season's treble, and they are 1 point ahead of Rangers going to Ibrox next weekend. And the fans can see, there's no point in going about Anthony Ralston and Liam Scales. I mean, we know that they're not from the top drawer, or James Forrest, who's had his testimonial and is at the end of his career. The players who shone last season, Callum McGregor, Matt O'Reilly, Kyogo, they have all started to decline, and the team is a shadow, unrecognisable from the team of last season.
But at the same time, whether it's bad luck from injuries or by design or whatever, these players are there, Mark, and they're playing, and that they're having to be relied on. So is the squad not as strong as it was last season? How would you sum it all up?
Well, look,
because Scales had to play today, so you know it's not his fault, if you like. But
look, injuries play a part in it, of course, Gordon, and losing Jota plays a part. But the only one that's really missing is Jota. We went on every week about how many options Postecoglou had to change things when it wasn't going right, and how strong Celtic squad are. Not much has changed, apart from people being missing through injuries.
And that's the point, though. Is the strength actually there, the way everyone said it was?
I believe those players are still good players. I'm not on Mark's side that Ralston is all of a sudden not good enough for Celtic, that Taylor's not good enough for Celtic. It was only 3 months ago, not even 3 months ago, Greg Taylor was getting heralded as one of the best turnarounds that we've seen. So I'm not falling into that camp. What I will say is they're underperforming at the minute.
What if the previous manager was excellent at getting a tune out of them?
Yeah. Well, that is a problem. That's a problem that's got to be considered going forward.
Well, you were touching on it during the game, Mark. I think where they're struggling now, the scatterguns out for Mark, and for me it's easy to go and pick the Ralstons and Turnbulls and players like that. Their best player and captain, leader, who is absolutely brilliant, he's not performing at all, right? So this season, I think where they're struggling is the style of play. I think the style of plays have changed, and I think the players just now are struggling to adapt to Brendan Rodgers' style of play. I'm not saying that won't come, because Brendan Rodgers to me is still a terrific manager, terrific coach, and he'll work in that. But right now, I looked at Celtic team for the first time in a long while at Celtic Park, just ran out of ideas.
How worried are you, Mark, or do you think this can be turned around quick?
No, that's the players we've got, Gordon, is what they're left with. I think I think we look at the prices that we're paying for players too. When we went and spent about $6.5 million in Jota, and I think the same for the lad Vickers at the back. You've got two players there who are players. It seems we're dabbling back in that couple of million and $1.5 million and that. We're going back away, mate. But we should be going to maybe buy 3 players at that $5 million, $6 million. You're going to get something, but I don't see it, mate. No, that team's on its knees, and I fear the worst next weekend. I'll tell you that.
The model, as Celtic call it, buy small, sell big, isn't working, because the Jota money, on top of what Celtic had in the bank, which was considerable, could have been used to bring in players who are ready to take Celtic forward. When Brendan Rodgers came back, he spoke of one of the reasons why he came back being to see what he could do to advance Celtic in Europe. Celtic will be destroyed in the Champions League. Again, I'm not exaggerating. You looked at it yourself. You can see for yourselves. The best teams on the continent will destroy that Celtic team. And the money has been spent on players like Thiago Holm, who'll be a player, Brendan Rodgers said, one day. Or on Kwon, who might be a player one day. But today, Celtic have had an awful result, and fans like Mark can see even worse to come staring them in the face.
Charles, what do you think on the other line?
Hi, how's it going, guys? Well, I don't know what to talk about defence, because I think that's taking care of itself with injuries, etc. My problem is Celtic middle to front, and I think over the last couple of games, they seem to have went backwards. Brendan Rodgers he's got a team going backwards. I don't know what he's done to Kyogo's heat. He's got him playing 2 different games, and it doesn't seem to be as effective. But my real point about the game of the day was, why did they take Yang off? Yang was undoubtedly the most dangerous player on the park. He was the best player on the park on the first half by a mile. He was causing St Johnstone problems. Why put James, and may happen to James Forrest, but the guy was the best player on the park. You don't take your best player on the park off and put James Forrest on, who's 34, something like that. I think he made a mistake there, but Celtic look as if they're regressing. He needs to press the reset button with Kyogo. Just say, anything I've told you, Kyogo, over the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, forget it. Just get back to what you were doing. That's what he needs to say to him. The McGregor, and we're talking about, I know McGregor's getting mentioned a few times recently over the last few weeks. And to me, the problem is not with McGregor. The problem is, as soon as you ring fence a player, see when you ring fence a player and say that he's got to play every week, then you're hampering the development of the team, and you're stopping the team finding out if there's potentially better ways. You might be saying, okay, he's only one player in 10, so we can afford to put him in every week. But McGregor's not one player in 10. He's one player he's 1 in 3 of a midfield 3.
McGregor was there because he was the best player in the midfield all season long, and he, like the rest, has disappeared, and some other guys there in his place. And the reason why Yang came off was because by that time Brendan Rodgers was throwing players onto the park, and I don't think there was any set pattern to it. It was desperation to see if he could get the one goal that would get the crowd off his back.
Do you see where Charles is coming from, the Mark? In a day of next to no positives, Yang would have been the best of a bad bunch, and he looked like he potentially could have made something happen. We know wingers often get changed. Could he have kept him on? Was it?
I agree with Charles in that respect. I thought Yang did look lively in the first half. I thought he looked positive every time he got the ball. He got past his man, but just lacked that wee bit of quality when it came to cutting things back. But I still thought he was Celtic's most dangerous player. Yeah, so I can see why. I can also understand then a part of me why Brendan Rodgers would change things. If he didn't change something, then people say, well, why didn't he make the change? You could have got something from James Forrest. Now, James Forrest comes on, he doesn't affect it.
He did change other things, though. I think that's the point. You know, it's not.
Well, it's like, you can only ask Brendan Rodgers why he chose that. But for me, looking at it, I'm with Charles. Young, I thought, was the one that stood out of anyone today. If anyone got pass marks, I would give it to him.
In defence of the Celtic manager, I agree with you, Mark. I think Young played up until he got substituted, played reasonably well. I think his lack of quality was there to see. So I don't think keeping him on the pitch would have made any difference to the result. I really don't. I think Brendan Rodgers rolled the dice, tried to change one or two things, freshen up, sharpen up. They just looked like a team to me that didn't know their style of play and ran out of ideas at the end.
Charles, is any of this an overreaction? That's what some people are going to ask. What do you think?
Well, you could feel that we're early in the season. You know, we are early in the season, but no, it's not an overreaction because they've looked very tepid. They've looked as if they're running out of ideas. Although we have to accept with the Kilmarnock game and the game of day, I heard Hugh talking about it was insipid performance or something like that. You're going to get that when you're constantly getting 11 players behind the ball. And let's face it, St Johnstone today, they were doing it every turn. They slowed again. There could have been 15 minutes injury time.
But
again.
here's the problem, Charles. Teams always put players behind the ball. Teams always time waste at Celtic Park. And the Celtic team of last season blitzed their way through the lot of it, didn't they?
Yes, they did. But I think the predictability, there may be from the midfield, there may be some predictability because there's never any changes. And that's what happens when you ring fence a player. I think we need to change it about in midfield. And I'm not wanting to talk Callum McGregor doing, but I would like to see what would happen with a different midfield. That's 30% of your midfield. It's becoming predictable.
Sorry, Charles, but again, there has to be a combination of things here, Hugh, because for Charles wants to take Callum McGregor out. What if it's the system? What if it's the tactics? What if it's the setup, the new manager that's not getting the best out of Callum McGregor?
Well, on the face of it right now, that would appear to be true of Callum McGregor and many others within that team. Charles, he has a phrase in his head, ring fence. McGregor's not ring fenced. McGregor's just very good at what he does. But the transformation which has brought in Brendan Rodgers in place of Ange Postecoglou has hit trouble because the players don't seem to fully get what the manager wants them to do, and they are not delivering on an individual basis what they did last season. Now they're 1 point in front of Rangers. They'll go to Ibrox. They will, without question, lose at Ibrox, and that will add to the tension. And it's a very serious juncture for the club, the fans, and Brendan Rodgers.
Midfield one's an interesting one because that's one of the tweaks that Brendan Rodgers has made in relation to how they play. That was suited for McGregor last year to dictate play, to dictate the tempo of Postecoglou's side. How many times we see it when he got the ball, he had a couple, more than a couple options in front of him. He would bounce it, get it back, get it wide. But now you barely see him in this system, on the ball. Now that detracts from Celtic, so maybe they need to look back to what they were last year.
Keep your thoughts coming. We'll hear from Brendan Rodgers as soon as we can. And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
Hello, Frank Skinner here. Someone said reading brilliant poetry is like opening a skylight in the top of your head and just feeling the cool, sweet, revitalising air come whooshing in. Okay, it was me. A brand new series of Frank Skinner's poetry podcast, now with added whooshing, starts on Wednesday, August the 2nd. Available from wherever you get your podcasts.
Are over. The talking begins. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
What a day of Scottish Premiership action. We're reflecting on, as much of it as we can, but naturally, when something like Celtic dropping points at home to St Johnstone happens, that does tend to dominate things. So let's get stuck back in with David in Lenzie. David, how do you feel?
Hi, panels, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. You?
Yeah, good, thanks. My point is just, listen, we've seen the Rangers drop points down at Kilmarnock. The Celtic Rangers historically drop points. They won 80-90% of their games throughout the season. To drop points throughout the season randomly, I just think there's an overreaction tonight. I really, really do. The Kilmarnock game was bad. I take that on board, but these results will happen through the season.
Do you know what? See, to be fair to you, David, you are right, and only time will tell whether this reaction is proportionate or not. Ange Postecoglou, certainly in his first season, dropped random points against random teams. You're absolutely right. However, the comparison is not really there, is it? Because dropping points at home to St Johnstone is seen as being way worse than dropping them away to Kilmarnock, isn't it?
Over the years, and Tony Mowbray lost his job, and these results happen. I don't think you can be judged by 3 or 4 games into the season. I think you've got to look at the manager and trust that he knows what he's doing, whether it be with his current squad or whether it be with his transfer acquisitions, and see where the season takes you.
Are you seeing enough, David, to believe in just now, or is this faith based on the first spell at the club?
I would say neither. I'm not happy with the second Brendan Rodgers version so far, but I don't doubt he's a first-class manager, as was Ange. But he's now dealing with Asian market players that he perhaps doesn't know. Ange had a knowledge of that market. So he's got to maybe learn how to get the best out of these players. You've also got to remember, Celtic have had, in the last couple of weeks, have had a shocking injury list as well. So they're calling on players. I saw, obviously Liam Scales playing. I think the boy's a good player, but would he get into a normal first team Celtic squad? No, he wouldn't.
Would he get in the St Johnstone team though?
Yeah, he probably would, yeah.
We have to take this game today in isolation, and David is trying too hard to cut Celtic some slack.
So he does have, certainly at the point at the start, Hugh, because it does happen and it can happen. And take last week's Celtic. Brendan Rodgers was going to lose a cup tie at some point, but Celtic have set their own bar in recent years, and that's miles below what we've seen, isn't it?
I go back to the point. Take this game in isolation. You're playing a St Johnstone team who had lost 5 of their 6 previous games, who had gone out of the Viaplay Cup in a group in which they lost to a Championship side, a League One side and a League Two side, finishing off with a 4-0 defeat at home to Stirling Albion.
Good side though, the Beanos.
But they then start the league campaign, no points from 6. They go to Celtic Park in front of 60,000. The injuries don't count because, regrettably for Brendan Rodgers, Nawrocki was lost to him, Welsh was lost to him, Carter Vickers was lost to him. You can only deal with the players he had at his disposal. For a side of that quality, and bringing on the subs that he did, for those players to have a goalless draw at home to St Johnstone is unacceptable to the vast majority of the Celtic supporters, and David is looking for a get out clause here, there and everywhere.
The one thing, Hugh, I'm not going to buy into is the injuries. I know they've got injuries. They've got a massive squad. Look at that team today. You're talking about Scales will get in the St Johnstone team all day long, so I'm not going to buy into that, especially when you're playing St Johnstone.
Obviously makes life more difficult for you, but it's pretty hard to poor Celtic when it's St Johnstone that's the opposition.
Yeah. Now the last 2 games that Celtic have played St Johnstone, I think they've scored in the region 8 goals against them. Today, apart from O'Reilly, a couple of good chances and probably should have hit the back of it, they ran out of ideas, Gordon. I'm with David. I think it's an overreaction, but it's Celtic, it's Brendan Rodgers. Postecoglou's down in England now, winning games with Tottenham. It all comes hand in hand. We got a bit panicky, but just now Celtic, you've got to say, getting into Ibrox next week, are not firing at all.
Celtic Stats and Trivia have sent me a tweet to say Celtic have failed to score in back-to-back domestic games for the first time since May 2018. Last time they went 3 domestic games was October 1994. Mark Wilson. And it just strikes you as David Wright, you can get these days, but I don't think anyone, whether it would be from a Celtic perspective or outside, expected this to be the day. I feel like Hugh, your hated word, narrative leading into this week was like the Celtic aren't at their best yet, and they do have injuries and they've got work to do, but they'll beat St Johnstone, and then you see what happens when the bigger tests come around. That's the point, isn't it? A depleted, struggling, low in confidence injury hit Celtic team should still beat St Johnstone. That's the nature
Gotta
of
be
the
honest,
golf we've
Gordon,
got here.
Yeah, it was probably the best fixture Celtic could have had today at Celtic Park, with all the injuries and players not firing. The one team you looked at that in that league, you would have thought, yeah, we'll take St Johnstone. Stephen McLean played 8 new players in his squad that he's brought in. He made some big changes from last week, so they've been kind of flung together. And if you're in that Celtic dressing room, you would have looked at that and thought, yeah, listen, I fancy this today. But I just wasn't there. Daz is right. It's a bit of overreaction, but you have to call it out for what it is today. And it was a dreadfully poor performance that followed Sunday's poor performance, so it needs to change quick.
David, I am always happy for Cam Heads. I always like an alternative view. Give us the positive case. Why are you so sure this will get fixed?
Listen, there's no positive, but like anybody in West Scotland, you look at the league table and Celtic's still top of the league. I think Motherwell, is it Motherwell now top?
I haven't actually checked. Celtic still top.
It'll come down to Celtic and Rangers. So you go into, you'd like to think Celtic have realised a bit of urgency, get into the last remaining days of the transfer window rather, and they'll do something because they have to. The team needs something, whether it be another centre back, another left winger, even a goalkeeper. They've got to do something, especially with entering the Champions League, etc.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating end to this window, Hugh. And I think we're about to hear from Brendan Rodgers, and I'm sure he'll say something similar.
Mm-hmm.
Both can be true at once, where Celtic might need new players and they might get new players, but again, this was a treble winning side, and even if it is depleted, should they need those new players to beat St Johnstone? That's the question.
No, absolutely not. It's a disgraceful result on the back of a disgraceful performance, and they have shot themselves in the foot in the game which comes immediately before they play Rangers at Ibrox. They absolutely need to get in a defender. I do realise that to lose Welsh, Navrowski and Carter Vickers is rank bad luck. However, it's happened, and by the time the three of them come back, the Champions League will be all but over, and the league table will be beginning to take shape. And Celtic, if they don't get a defender or two in the door, will be out of contention for the league and be getting done in everywhere in the Champions League.
Hold that thought until we hear from Brendan Rodgers, because I think he may well allude to something similar. Let's thank David for his time and bring in Paul. Paul, are you as understanding as David?
Hi guys, not really, to be honest. Can I put something to Mark? Mark, I've watched Celtic for many years. I've watched my son's football for many years, and I can usually see a plan with the teams. So the various managers, you would see a plan. I look at the Celtic team in the last Brendan Rodgers come in. I don't see a plan. I don't see a shape. I don't actually understand how it's managed to turn guys who seem to know what they're doing. It's just flat. It's like the day's performance. That was nothing to do with Carter Vickers and the defenders not playing. He couldn't score. So how they create it's all this long passing. They've done away with all the wee triangles. Even when it was the inverted fullbacks and stuff, I understand that's no Brendan Rodgers still. But when he's here before, you could watch the build-up play. But I can't see for the life of me what the plan is. Can you, Mark?
I'm going to say, yeah, I can see a plan. The problem is I don't think it's clicking into place. So you see a difference in Kyogo coming deeper. You see then a midfielder or two midfielders going in behind Kyogo, and that seems to be where the main emphasis of play is. And if that doesn't work, we've seen it a couple of times, right? We've seen it against Ross County, but we've seen it a couple of times today, and Kyogo didn't quite get the pass off, so it doesn't work. But the problem is with Postecoglou, a lot of the play was the inverted fullbacks playing a huge part of it, overloading the midfield and getting those balls inside the opposition fullbacks. Now, Abada would run onto it, or Maeda would run on, or Jota, cut it back. How many times do we see Kyogo playing it in? Postecoglou's plan worked. There was an overload, a huge overload in midfield, but Rodgers has certainly changed that. A lot of the emphasis not on the wider areas now, or the full-backs for that matter.
See, that thing about Kyogo though, is it, maybe to help Paul out a bit, is it distinct enough? Like, I know what you're saying, you see it sometimes, you see it the odd time.
Yeah. Listen, I've seen it more than once now, because it doesn't always come to something. Kyogo's coming deeper and deeper for me. Now, it might click into place, but you need to be spot on with it. But I just think, why give up an area where you had such success in? That wide area, that those patterns of play. Paul touched on the triangles and how people would come in, even into a Riley who would play it inside an opposition fullback for one of the wide guys. I thought Brendan Rodgers would have looked at Postecoglou's plan and thought, there is a lot right with that. There is plenty right going on here, but I'll put one or two tweaks on it. It seems he's discarded quite a bit of it and tweaked a lot, and it's not working at the minute.
I think Kyogo probably, see if you're an actual goal scorer, which Kyogo is, I don't think he enjoys that role, Gordon, because it takes you away from where you're most dangerous. Now, it looks great when that ball comes and he flicks it round the corner, O'Reilly goes in and scores, but Kyogo is a natural striker. He wants to be in the position.
Do you get where Paul's coming from though? Because remember, everyone knows Ange Postecoglou didn't get results straight away when he came in. Didn't take long, but it wasn't straight away. But for Paul, he's saying you could at least see very clearly what was trying to happen, and then it clicked into place. Is it as clear yet? That's one thing. It's like one feature, right? Whereas you've just rhymed off, I don't know, half a dozen about Ange Postecoglou, and it was quickly. I'm not saying it worked, but it was inverted fullbacks. It was those triangles with the side midfielders coming across. The way the wide players would get to the byline, all that sort of stuff. There was loads.
Quick football, pace on the front foot.
Exactly, the quick free kicks, Joe Hart running to get the ball. Is it distinct enough yet with what Brendan Rodgers is trying? Before we even worry about whether it works, can you see what he's trying?
Not really, but I'll give him the benefit of doubt, the fact that we'll go back to those injuries, not get time to get that team out to work it the way he wants to go. I still think it's too early to hit the big panic button. Was it good today? Would I enjoyed that performance? Absolutely not. I didn't see it. I said at the top of the show, I just think they ran out of ideas. They didn't perform to their best. Celtic fans are getting a bit disgruntled. Massive game next week. They go to Ibrox. I'm telling you now, I bet you Celtic fans have now flipped over and thought, oh God, steady going there with confidence. We're a bit concerned.
Well, let's squeeze one more in quickly. So let's do Alec, because I know he was on Kyogo as well. You're not happy with what you're seeing from that area, Alec?
First of all, I'd like to say Hugh Keevins I don't often agree with him. He's 100% correct.
Wow, this is a big day.
100% correct. Brendan Rodgers not got a clue what he's doing with Kyogo. He should flick a switch and say, Kyogo, go back to doing what you were doing. Many goals has he scored since the start of the playing friendlies or nothing with Brendan Rodgers? Hardly any. He was averaging 2 goals a game.
Well, hold on. You might be right, but he scored 2 league goals already, did he not? Yeah. Ross County and Aberdeen.
But he's not playing in the position he was playing last season with Ange Postecoglou.
Sure.
He's changed it all on the boot. So Brendan Rodgers, right now, flick the switch, get it back to Kyogo playing where he's playing. If you don't do that, you're going to lose a league.
I don't know if you said you were happy to take the praise. I don't know if you said Brendan, see, old habits die hard. Brendan Rodgers has got no clue what he's doing with Kyogo, but is the sentiment agreeable to you?
No, I said that I thought that the Kyogo experiment only works if Kyogo keeps up his goal numbers, and they will drop off. They will assuredly drop off. Celtic had a formula. The problem, if I can put it that way, when the man won 5 trophies out of 6, the problem with Ange Postecoglou was that he had a formula, and it was a tried and trusted formula. It went with him to London, and what Celtic are delivering now bears no resemblance to the football they played under Postecoglou.
Is that why it's not that simple? Mark and Gordon, you'll know more about this quickly. There's a lot goes into a style, or tactics or whatever. As much as Alex says it, you can't just now move Kyogo up the pitch. It's about everything else that's going on round about.
No,
it.
Brendan Rodgers will stick to that because that's what his philosophy is. Hugh talks about Ange Postecoglou's
I mean, he
philosophy.
could, but what I mean is you need to change
everything.
You're right. Lots of other things.
So he's not going to do that, Gordon. The biggest problem for Celtic now, as I say, don't press the panic button. It's not good. The Kilmarnock result, knocking out the cup, set them back with a loss of treble. They've 7 points out of 9 in the league. Was today's performance good against a St Johnstone team that should beat? No, but it's still very early.
We're going to hear from Brendan Rodgers next.
After they play, you have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel are here. Let's hear from Brendan Rodgers. Lots has been said about Celtic's performance and result today, but what did the manager make of it?
Yeah, it was a disappointing result clearly, but also the performance. We obviously had a couple of good chances in the game. The keeper made some really good saves. We got into some good areas, but but we lacked craft and that extra wee bit of imagination when we got in there. So very disappointing for us. Like I say, we arrived into good positions, but we either were sort of finesse on the pass or gave it away or just couldn't quite beat our man. So but yeah, listen, the positives for us today was that I thought Yang was excellent in the game for the period he was on. He started to tire a little bit, but I thought he was excellent. Ali Johnson's obviously great news. There's a long way to go in terms until he's right up to speed, but he played the game time, so it was good to get that into his legs. But apart from that, as I said, we had enough of the ball, but you have to do much more with it than that. Probably is. I think it. Like I say, it's I'm coming into here brand new, and you have to prove yourself. So there may be that aspect to it, but for me, it's always looking at the performance. I've always looked at that because I think if you can perform well and play with that tempo and speed in your game, then you have a great chance to win games. But sadly we were lacking that.
Lacked craft and imagination. And the two players that he picks out, Yang, he took him off because he was tiring, and a player who has been out for weeks and also had to go off because he was tiring. And that's it. That was the afternoon for Brendan Rodgers. That's a pretty poor return when you consider who else was on that park.
I think today in the dressing room, behind closed doors, might have been the first time a few stern words were said. I think Kilmarnock, would have been disappointed last week, but maybe just kept some of his thoughts to himself. When you come to Celtic Park though and you follow up with a performance like that, you can hear the disappointment in his voice there. Hugh's right when he mentioned Yang and Alistair Johnson, but nothing really else. That shows you that so many players are underperforming, and I think today might have been the first time he gave them a wee jolt, and it's much needed, by the way, because some players may be resting on last season laurels, a treble winning season. They need to remember that success has to be constant at Celtic, not just for one season.
Let's speak to David, who is a Rangers fan. David, how do you feel about your team's performance earlier?
Absolutely delighted, panel. There's a lot of doom and gloom on the show tonight, but I am absolutely delighted.
But does your performance feel better because of what's just happened at Ross County, St Johnstone? Sorry,
it was absolutely fantastic. I think actually our performance probably put a bit of pressure on Celtic now. I think after the PSV performance, they were full of confidence going into today. I thought it would be a hard game up there today, but I just felt it was getting closer to the complete performance for Rangers. There's so many players had great games. Big Shooter I thought was outstanding. Butland's been a great signing. Even the decision to bring Roof on was fantastic. What a goal he scored. And I also thought the subs coming on just showed how big and how good a squad Rangers have got this year.
I think I was at Ibrox last Saturday, Gordon, and at full time against Morton, if you had offered Rangers fans the type of week they've had since, I think they would have been pleasantly surprised at how it was going to pan out.
Been a good week for Rangers, no doubt about it. A good result on Tuesday night, as much as they would have liked to have taken a lead over to Eindhoven, and then they go up to Ross County. People are looking at that fixture, 12:30 kick-off. Thought Rangers had they cruised the game, I know they gave up a couple of chances, Jordan White we'll talk about, but I thought Rangers played to their own pace. They dominated, 2 terrific goals, especially from the captain Tavernier, outstanding. Got the substitutes on at the right time, livened it up again. They'll go midweek confidence, but everybody now, especially if you're a Rangers fan watching Celtic's performance today, will probably be growing more and more in confidence for next weekend.
I think even when you look at, take away the actual results, but some of the individual performances, David just mentioned there, guys like Suter, who is now completed, is it three games in a week? And the goals, Sima goal, Matondo's return, his goal midweek, followed by Roof returning. So everything in an upward trajectory for Rangers this week. And David's right to come on, absolutely buzzing, because in the Morton game, everybody's, me included, giving Rangers stick. It needs to be much better. Well, in the past 7 days, it is much better. And how quickly football flips, that it's the other side, it's the Celtic fans saying they're in a bit of trouble now. So David's right to come on it and say everything's going in the right direction at the minute.
Yeah, things do change quickly, David. Big week ahead. How do you see it going?
Actually, I'm not too sure about the PSV game, if I'm being honest. It's going to be a tough one. I really think it's going to be a tough one, but I've got every confidence that we're really going to beat Celtic next weekend. I really have. The way the team's kind of shaping up and all the new signings coming together, it wasn't great to start with, I'll admit that, but just the link-up play today and everything like that, you can just see it clicking. I mean, I keep going on about the players he brought on for the bench, but I mean, it was fantastic. Tom Lawrence never really got mentioned there, but he's another one. Superb. I mean, I'm just delighted, to be honest with you, the way it's kind of shaping up. And obviously the result today just is the cherry on top,
If the Celtic fans are being truthful, they will think that David is being absolutely accurate. He is certain that Rangers will beat Celtic a week tomorrow. I think the majority of Celtic supporters will agree with that. And if somebody can come up with a case for saying that Celtic will win at Ibrox, I would love to hear it.
What about your own words? You always say it's a separate life form.
Yeah.
You just never quite know what to expect.
Exactly. But there are times when the separate life form becomes like every other life form.
You got to stand by your phrases. That's one of my favourites. Don't go back on it.
Separate life form.
So this fixture is a separate life form only sometimes.
When the
Doesn't sound as good.
When the odds are so heavily against one side and so heavily in favour of another side, the separate life form becomes ordinary life.
We're taking it one game at a time. We're looking at Rangers' performance, so we're looking at what they achieved in the week. You look at Celtic's performance and it's flipped. Everybody now thinks, Rangers are strong. Listen, this game can throw up absolutely anything to you.
But that's what happens, I suppose, early season, because there is so little to go on, so it's bound to be a bit more volatile. It's a fixture that Celtic will go into above Rangers in the league. But yeah, again, I don't think Hugh's wrong that now most people will look at it this weekend and say Rangers are favourites.
We're going week to week, because after the Morton game, before Celtic travelled to Rugby Park, I would have said, well, Celtic will be looking forward to facing Rangers at Ibrox, because if Morton can almost take them all the way, then Celtic will wipe the floor with them. Who knows? I don't think it's anywhere near as clear cut as Hugh's saying. So a lot can happen in a week in football.
Well, we've got a lot to get through before then. Just quickly, because we want to whiz through a couple of other talking points. I thought we were going to hear from Lee Johnson before the end of the show. It doesn't look like it. Is he done genuinely for you, Hugh? Is it honestly at that stage?
I don't think he can survive. It's immaterial what happens at Villa Park. They're bottom. And if you want to know if fate's got it in for you, they're bottom because Celtic couldn't score a goal against St Johnstone.
Listen, I don't think he was that far off. He's got Villa Park to come. Favour's not on his side with the Hibs fans. If it goes to Villa Park, I get the tie's over, but to take another sore one, then I'm gauging on what happened to Jack Ross last season. So it's not unimaginable that he could lose his job this early into the season, having seen what happened last year in our league. So it's just not gone right. As I say, going forward, Hibs look fine. At the back door, awful. And if you're awful at the back door, managers often lose their job. So he's on a shaky nail at the minute.
How shaky?
It is shaking. There's no doubt about that. But I think he's just surviving. I know what the boys are saying about the Villa one. I think, okay, they'll not survive that. It'll be a hard game for him. I still think he'll be a manager of Hibs next game, in charge of the next game, sorry.
And again, if things are changing week to week, the darlings of the new season had been Kilmarnock, and rightly so. Then they rock up to Fir Park, take a lead, and you think it's going to continue, and that man Stuart Kettlewell has other ideas.
Nobody strolls into our hometown, Gordon, and walks away with 3 easy points. We showed joint top tonight as well. Disappointing of the St Mirren game. Bounce back ability. That's what it's all about. Great 3 points.
There we are. Right, that is pretty much us. Thank you to Mark Wilson, Gordon Dalziel, Hugh Keevins. Just one thing I wanted to run past you before we go any further. A bit of a competition for you. Do you want to win your team a place at the big Scottish Golf Day? Well, you can. You could play the King Robert the Bruce course at Trump Turnberry alongside us here at Clyde One Super Scoreboard as we take on Ewan Cameron and Stephen Mill from the big Scottish Football Show. All the funds raised go to Cash for Kids. You know the drill. We're trying to help the lives of children affected by poverty, illness, neglect, or who have additional needs right here on our doorstep. So it's a really worthwhile cause, and you could be there. The prize includes a round of golf for a team of 4, tea, coffee, bacon rolls, a 2-course meal after the golf, and the champion suite as well. It's a no-lose situation. To enter, all you do is text golf to 84901. That gives a £5 to Cash for Kids, and then you might win your team a place at the golf day. So it really is a no-brainer. The texts are charged at a standard network rate plus your £5 donation, and every penny goes to Cash for Kids. You can opt out from making the charitable donation if you want. Please don't. And you do need to be over 18 to enter. Full T's and C's on the website. And you're playing across the Hits Radio Network Scotland competition, and lines close at 4 p.m. Saturday 3rd of September. So we look forward to that, and we look forward to Monday night as well. The postmortems will continue. It promises to be quite the week, and we look forward to having you along with us. George Bowie's up next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lucas Land Rover. Buy your next car or book your MOT service or repair online.